to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 153. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is actually with me.
What up, y'all?
Back in the building. It is so great to have the team back together. It's been too damn long. I'm telling you that right now. We have also got the young Mike Bohn in the house. How you doing, brother?
Good. Not feeling so young anymore after a bachelor party last weekend here in Vegas. This is back-to-back weekends.
Back-to-back weekends.
Can't wait to get out of
Vegas
here.
will age you quickly. That is for damn sure. We have got a lot to talk about. There is stuff in the news. We, of course, are here for UFC 222. But before we get to that, we got to welcome aboard our new sponsors, Health IQ.
MMA Roadshow is sponsored by Health IQ, an insurance company that helps health-conscious people like runners, cyclists, weightlifters, and vegetarians get lower rates on their life insurance. Go to healthiq.com/road to support the show and see if you qualify.
Now, of course, you're probably thinking this is a joke. What is a company called Health IQ doing? Sponsoring a show like the MMA Roadshow. But I'm telling you, life insurance is important stuff. It is. I mean, look, the young Mike Bohn, you're single. You don't have no kids. You're good. Maybe you don't need life insurance right now. But if you're like me, you got a wife, you got kids, you got to have life insurance. I'm telling you, it's important.
No doubt.
You really need to do it. What Health IQ can do is hook you up with lower rates. They can take a few lifestyle quizzes, submit some actual data with them, like race results. Runkeeper, I'm told, is an app that you can use. I've never used
What is
Runkeeper.
it to run?
Apparently, you can enter data. Like my man Brian Boyle over in the UK, I always see
that mofo runs.
he runs a lot. Like I always see, he's posting Instagram of where he's like run and stuff like that. So you can submit data like this. And what they can do, you can reach out to Health IQ, and they take you on a journey. They learn about your lifestyle and your choices. Basically, what they do is it's like getting good driver rates, right? So if you try to sign up, listen, my life insurance, I'm not going to lie, it's expensive. Because you know what I do? I tell them what my height is. I tell them what my weight is. I tell them what my age is.
Don't do that.
And I tell them how much I drink every week. And my life insurance rates are through the roof. But I got to take care of Danielle and Eli, right? Because one of these days I'm going to keel over, probably sooner rather than later. And I got to take care of them. Health IQ is for people not like me that do better, that make way better decisions. So if you're health conscious and you make better decisions than I do, they will help you out. Just reach out and they will hook you up with, you put in specific stats, information, things like that, and they're going to help you with a better rate.
To see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/road or mention the promo code ROAD. When you talk to your Health IQ agent, it's as easy as that.
That's what's up. All right, healthiq.com. Thank you for jumping on with us. Obviously, taking care of people not like us.
Well, I mean, now I want to run more. Now I feel like I should take better health. I mean, we did say about how I've been building the gym in the garage,
yes.
And I actually been using it.
Yes.
And Angelo Reyes, the famed boxing coach, came out and was working with me a little bit. So I'm working on it. So this is good. This gives me another thing I really need to pay attention to. So Health IQ, I'm going to be checking y'all out. That's for sure.
That's what's up. All right, let's get into it. By the way, should we mention we got
new
visitors
guests.
now? We got crew. We should say, by the way, they walked through with a strong box of Coors Light, which God bless Coors Light. I'm a fan.
I'm good.
We're good right now, sir. We are good right now, sir.
It's a Ballast Point home game.
It's a Ballast Point home game.
There
We
you
started
go.
out earlier this evening with some Watermelon Dorados, double India Pale Ale. And you know what? Watermelon Dorado, you say, what the hell is a Watermelon Dorado? But 10%, my friend.
I don't know what a Dorado is,
10%.
but if all Dorados taste as good as this Watermelon Dorado, I want to have Dorados every day in my life.
That's what's up.
Not
Now,
like Doritos. I have Doritos all the time, but Dorados is a whole game
Maybe you
changer.
could have some
Watermelon
Dorados with your
would be
Doritos.
awful. That would be terrible.
Watermelon Doritos.
All right, we're moving on to the Fathom IPA now, by the way. We should say Ballast Point. Gotta love our friends at Ballast
Dude, they are some good stuff. I mean, like the Watermelon Dorado that we were talking about earlier is a double IPA, which if you guys like IPAs, it's double that. And it is twice as tasty.
If you like one IPA, you like a double
You like
IPA.
it, that's right. And we never said who actually joined us here. So
You
I
just
feel like we
commented
should
on
try-
their beer. It doesn't matter. They brought beer.
But Danny Austin and Jose Jose Young isn't here.
Did you go with Jose?
I go both.
I go Portuguese.
I go both ways when it comes to this fine gentleman.
Straight up Mexican, dude.
But one thing I did say about Danny earlier, which Danny just proved, I said when Danny shows up for the road show, Danny brings alcohol. Danny don't mess around. Danny brings beer. It's not the finest beer. It's not a Ballast Point home game.
Wait. I mean, what?
Well, no, it's your Coors. I gave you my Coors Light. We just went to go get food, and we got Coors Light. I couldn't finish it, and I was like, "Here, you want this Coors Light?" And of course, he's like, "Hell yeah, I want that Coors Light." So, but I appreciate that you bring your stuff. You're a game changer. That you do what Canadians should be doing, which is being a good host in our country, the greatest country. You are the greatest sister country in the world.
Oh, Jesus.
Little sister country.
Oh, Jesus.
Or a little
wow.
brother.
Wow. All right, let's
harsh,
get back
man.
to MMA because we have skewed far aside right now. All right,
I've had double IPAs already today.
we got a lot to talk about with UFC 222, and we're going to get into that. But before I do this, because I want to talk about it with Mike Bohn, and then I want to bring these guys on later and get their opinion as well. So before we get into 222, let's talk about some of the things that are happening right now. Why don't we start with Brock Lesnar? Let's start with Brock Lesnar, right? Last week, we actually talked about maybe being at T-Mobile Arena. I should say, by the way, we didn't even say this. We are at the Monte Carlo right now. J-Mo chipped in for a room this evening.
Splurge.
I'm not going to lie. I'm going to expense it. But still, but it's not coming out of my pocket. But we're at the Monte Carlo. We're at the Monte Carlo. And not only are we at the Monte Carlo, we didn't pay for a room for the Park MGM, but we got the new remodeled room for the Park MGM, as it's going to be known very soon. So we're hanging out here. We're down on the Strip. Very rare. On Las Vegas events, normally me and you, cold coffee, we go back home.
It's a home game.
This time, we're actually hanging out with people on the road and enjoying ourselves a little bit. So I should say, last week, we were going to be just across the street, Sunday night at T-Mobile Arena. Ronda Rousey made her debut for the WWE. She didn't necessarily do anything, right? But she was there to do her contract signing.
She got a little physical.
She got there, right? Yeah, she
threw Triple H through a table.
Yeah, that was awesome.
He more jumped and landed, but it's okay.
She held his head as he jumped over and landed.
Ah, she threw him.
We were going to be there for that, but the WWE basically kind of
ignored us.
Yes, ignored us. Let's just say it like it is. They basically just told us they didn't need our presence at all. But while that was happening, we see this picture: Brock Lesnar and Dana White. Right? Dana White throws out the picture on Twitter and Instagram, puts a little smiley face on there. Now I went ahead and maybe I'm an idiot or a dork like that. I went the extra reporter route. Just to make sure, I texted Dana. I'm like, is that actually a current picture? Because it could have very easily been like an old picture, right, that they just had together.
It's the right move to make.
So I did go ahead and reach out to Dana.
You're such a journalist.
I know.
How dare you do your job?
I did reach out and make sure that was a current picture. And he was like, yes, it is a current picture. It was taken at 5 p.m.
Is that how he answered you? Yes, it is, John.
Well, sir, it was
it is a current
message.
picture.
Yes, you know how Dana is.
Sounds very proper in his
John?
text.
How are you?
Why, John? Thank you very much for asking me. Yes.
But he did say, he was like, hey, this was 5 o'clock. I didn't ask, but is that painting, that picture that was in, is that at the office?
I'd have to go back and look.
I don't remember. I don't either. I've been in Dana's office once, the new office. I've been in there once, and I didn't.
Yeah, I haven't seen his new office.
Okay, so it's huge, and he hates it, and he's doing stuff there. But
he's still got a toilet in his room.
He still has a toilet in his room. So so anyway, that did happen, and I did actually. On top of that, I asked him if he was going to the event. He said, I'm not going to the event, but he did say, I am going to have dinner with Ronda. Just a couple text messages back and forth. He did say that Ronda's way happier than she's been in forever. And so
it seems that way.
All those things were happening. All right, but let's start with you, Mike Bohn. Then we get the quote with TMZ, right? That it's the chances are. Oh, was it? Who was it?
I think it was a radio interview. It was with Sirius XM.
That's right.
NASCAR.
It was NASCAR.
Kevin Harvick show.
That's right. It was the Kevin Harvick show. Kevin Harvick, manager of Cowboy Cerrone and Misha Tate. Not Kevin Harvick directly.
Rose Namajunas too, I believe.
Company. But chances are very, very, very good that Brock Lesnar comes back. So 3 varies.
Not just very.
So it's done. What do you guys think about this? Because I'm curious. Well, I won't even weigh in. What do you guys think about this? Brock Lesnar coming back to the UFC. Are you pumped? What do you feel about it?
I don't know what I feel because this is the same song and dance we get every single time. Every time Brock Lesnar's WWE contract comes near its end and he has negotiating period coming up, or he's looking for a better contract, newer contract, this happens. Something pops up UFC related. He shows up at whatever event it was in LA. Was it UFC 199?
Right.
Or no, that was when they announced his comeback.
84,
yeah, UFC 84. Yeah, thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Jose.
Yeah, so this happens routinely. It's like cyclical every time his contract comes up. So I don't really know how much to read into it, more so than this time, as opposed to last time. It seems like reports out there is mutual interest. It seems like he wants to do this one more time, but there's a lot of hurdles. I mean, he still has to re-enter the USADA pool. He still has to serve more than 6 months of his suspension time. So it's not like they can just, like they did last time, sign him and be like, okay, a video package. He's fighting at UFC 200 in 2 months. Like it's a long process, and we're gonna, I assume, find out through USADA or whomever that it's gonna show up on their website that he's being drug tested.
Well,
again.
I was gonna say, but I did, by the way, again, trying to do my journalistic duties. I did make sure that he does still have 6.5 months, more or less, to serve. So to do this, it's going to be at least September sometime before.
So it's a whole process, and who knows? Maybe he just stays with WWE. But it sounds like there is some friction there. I mean, I don't know how much of a storyline within his actual character, but they pulled him off the show on the Monday after that photo was taken. He was scheduled to be on it, and they took him off. And like the guy he's supposed to be having a match with kind of did a shoot promo on him, being like, Brock Lesnar's not here tonight. He's not here for you fans. He never shows up for your fans. He's out there on the strip taking photos with Dana White, like all this kind of stuff. Roman Reigns. The professional wrestler.
I'm not gonna. I don't follow WWE at all, but I will say I watch.
You're gonna have to at some time. These things are just merging together, man. It's
Braun
crazy.
Strowman is the guy, right? That dude looks like
he's awesome.
A goddamn superhero.
I love Braun Strowman. You guys are shaking your head. You don't like Braun? Yeah.
See, all right. Well, so let's put all that aside, because all right. So let's put all that aside. Okay, let's assume that all those things. All right, all right. Let's assume that what we're seeing is true, right? Like let's take the WWE out of the equation. Let's say they're fine. Everything's good. Let's just say it's done. Contracts are signed. Yes, it's gonna take. It's not gonna be till September. We got to go through these 6.5 months. We're not gonna take any shortcuts. We're not gonna do anything that USADA would frown upon. I mean, we're gonna do this by the letter of the law, right? We're gonna do it right. But Brock Lesnar is gonna walk back into the UFC and fight again. You like it or you don't like it?
It's so hard not to like it. I mean, he is just such a bigger than life figure. Every time it's it's a mega event. Every time he fights, there's just so much interest. He's such a polarizing, interesting character. So as someone who covers the sport, how can I not like it from a fan perspective and from a journalist perspective who likes website traffic and all those kind of things? I mean, it's good for everyone sitting in this room. Like on that perspective, you can't say it's bad for us. I mean, we are in however you want to call it. Are we in a lull? The sport in general, we need kind of people like Brock Lesnar in this right now. So yeah, I mean, if he can come back, but what's the plan, I guess? Like, is he just going to do one more fight and that's it? Are you going to risk him coming back? And if he's just doing one more fight and wants one more big payday, who's to say he doesn't pop again for something, or like this whole thing doesn't just happen over again? And he's like, okay, now I'm done. Like,
that's the risk.
It's just it's hard to say from kind of an integrity standpoint. Is the UFC willing to roll the dice on this guy again? I mean, I'm sure they will, just because the payday that would come with it. I'm sure they'd gladly trade the potential.
I was about to say, you roll the dice when you know you're at least getting even money back.
Exactly,
right?
But yeah, like, who does he fight at this point? I mean, I would you could have him fight Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou. I mean, I think they're absolute. Man, Stipe would do terrible things to Brock Lesnar. I don't think that's a great fight right now. I mean, I think the UFC
pull a horseshoe out of his ass.
The UFC's absolutely ideal scenario, I imagine, is John Jones gets his 18 months or whatever. Brock Lesnar comes back, and their year-end show is Brock Lesnar versus John Jones. That fight finally happens. Like that, I guarantee, is their dream scenario.
They were already
but so many stars would have to align.
They were already talking about it.
And I think even if John Jones gets 18 months, he still wouldn't be good until January or something. Like, I don't think he would even be clear for that December date. So yeah, a lot of stars have
Lesnar back in.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, what are we? We're early March right now. I don't think we see him step in the cage probably till 2019. Who knows though?
Well, we'll get into John Jones for sure. Cold Coffee, I want to get your take, because I know that as a former UFC employee, you're always more than happy to call them on their bullshit. But this is interesting to me, because I will say, I think there was a time in my life where I hated Brock Lesnar. Like, when Brock Lesnar came to the UFC, I was like, oh my God, no, this is terrible. People aren't going to take the sport seriously. People aren't going to take you know, it just doesn't make sense. But now I have to say, and I don't know if it goes to what Mike said, that, you know, I'm a website operator. I'm tied into. I mean, I know what he means. I know he means views. I know he means business. And this is kind of a slow period right now. For whatever reason, like, I just don't care anymore. I got it. Maybe it's the fact that CM Punk came in. I don't know what it is, but to me, I used to feel like I was so protective of the sanctity of the sport, that it mattered so much, that it was legitimate, and that nobody looked at it wrong.
The sport has no sanctity, bro.
Well, that's kind of what I feel now. Now I'm like, you know what? I mean, look, and we're going to get into UFC 222 in a second, and there's some amazing fights on here, you know what I mean? But there's fighters that will never get attention, that will never ever, deserved fighters, that will never ever get attention if we don't have people like Brock Lesnar to bring in casual fans, to get it on ESPN, to get it on, you know, the mainstream sports network. So I'll be honest with you. Yes, it sucks that we will be talking about another drug cheat that has to come back through the system. Again, he has to come back through the system. He has to be tested. He has to do all that. But I'll be honest with you. I'm okay. And even if it's John Jones, even if it's potentially the #1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, if Brock Lesnar is going to walk in against potentially the #1, not the #1, because we all know Mike Bohn, the Demetrius Johnson's #1.
Shout-outs to Rotterdam.
I'm okay with that. Cool Coffee. Am I crazy? I mean, have I jumped off the deep end?
You're so far over the deep end. I mean, like you said everything, and I mean, it's true. I mean, it sucks that but it's hard to separate the fact that, yeah, we like the sensationalism of having these crazy athletes. He's good for numbers. He's good for whatever. Is he good for the sport? Hell no. I mean, like, when it comes to legitimacy, you know, it's bullshit when these sideshow things come back in. I think it's great. I think he's a huge draw. But, I mean, am I excited for it? Sure. I think it's great, you know. But do I care, really, honestly, about it? No, not really. Because, I mean, I think Brock's Brock, whatever. I mean, he wants to come, and the UFC does it. But, I mean, it'd be great for that week or the month for numbers. So, for that sense, yeah, it's great. But I don't care. I've never been the hugest fan of Brock. I think he's always just been this, like, huge circus freak, in a sense. Like, he's just larger than life. So I love the fact that he even exists, that somebody that big can move like he does, and I'm so just enamored with that. But I was trying to look at my buddy's site, the doctor, who always treats all the things, because I just went back, and I swear I saw a picture the other day, and he was treating Brock, but I can't find the fucking picture now when I just look, because that's always my signal when somebody's really gonna, like, sign something behind the scenes. But I don't see the picture anymore, so maybe I made it up in my head. But I think it's great. I mean, if he wants to come back and give numbers, great. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, now it's just a matter of, you know, maybe it felt like the UFC hadn't put a Scott Coker-ish enough event together recently, that they wanted to pull something out and say, hey, we can do it too, you know. But whatever. If he comes back, I'll be super stoked to watch it. But, you know, it means nothing more than that event, you know, because there's nothing long term about Brock Lesnar or anything he brings. I mean, I would love to see Stipe's talked about it and talked about that fact, and I would love to see Stipe fight him. I mean, at this point, what he was able to do against what Francis came in, and Francis was this huge beast. There's no huge beast bigger than Brock Lesnar, unless you want to bring in the Mountain from Game of Thrones.
What about the Black Beast?
Well, you know, I mean, like, that's another one. But that's a legitimate fight. That's legitimate. That's real. That's stuff that needs to happen for the legitimacy of the division and the sport. Brock, this is nothing more than just a circus sideshow that, you know, it's going to be great for one bottom line of the UFC. I mean,
but honestly, that's what the sport is, right? Like,
unfortunately, that's what it is.
One circus sideshow after another circus sideshow, right? I mean, it's so crazy. Like, we're talking about this slow period of the sport and this dead period of the sport, but, like, I'm super excited about UFC 222. Like, I really do love this fight card. UFC 223 is insane. Yeah. It's ridiculous. The card that we had last week was fun. I mean, there are great fights happening, but
who's
great
watching
fights?
them?
Yeah, exactly. Great fights don't resonate with the casual fan, right? Like, you gotta have that circus side. You gotta have the bearded lady at the top of the card to get people to watch the legitimate high wire acts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yep, and it's tough. I mean, I think if Brock does come back, everyone will bitch and moan about whatever they want, but if he passes the drug test and he gets to fight week, no one's going to say shit about that.
Gotta
They're just
pass.
going to be so excited, and when he's in the octagon, everyone's going to be marking out, and it's going to be no one's going to care about that stuff anymore.
Gotta
so
pass the damn
he's just
drug
got to
test,
get
though.
through the process.
None of those BS suspensions, but not the where they change the policy where you can.
It's got to be legit.
It's got to be legit. It's got to be 100% legit.
So speaking of, it made me think when I was trolling my buddies' pictures of the Tough Gym, everybody that's on the wall is either a champ or the coaches. A former champ, or coaches, right?
For the most part.
Why is Khabib up on the wall?
Because the script calls that he'll be champion soon.
Right? I guess so, right? Think about that. Why is he up on the wall already?
No, damn, he's going to be a champion.
He's going to be a champion.
He's
but
going to be a champion.
do they have future champs that we all think are going to be up there?
Yeah, there's no Yana
already on the wall?
Kunitskaya photo.
Right?
What's up with
Wow.
that?
All right.
But it's just interesting. I just happen to see a picture, and I'm like, I see Khabib's picture up on the tough wall, and I'm like, why
Bite
is
your
it there?
tongue, sir. Don't you talk a
I
bad
mean,
word about Khabib.
I'm not saying a bad word. I'm just saying, like,
The Eagles
it's
gonna
all
swoop
been,
down
it's
right now.
always been a current or a former champ and the coaches on the wall. That's it.
You can be an uncrowned champ.
Oh yeah.
He's the uncrowned
So
champ.
who else
he's
is
about
on
to be
there?
the
Is there anyone else besides him on the wall?
He's about to be the real interim
The
whatever
real
champ.
interim fake. I won't even get into that. We'll wait to get into that. We got time before 2:23. All right. So you touched upon Yana Kunitskaya, guys. Let's talk about
Yeah,
real
I
quickly
did.
about the main event. Yana Kunitskaya versus Chris Cyborg. Okay, listen. I mean, we're not going to sit here and spend hours breaking down the X's and O's. I mean, Chris Cyborg to me right now, definitely the most dominant champion. To me, she is the number one pound for pound women's fighter on the planet at this moment. I think there was an argument at one time when Joanna Jędrzejczyk was at the peak of her run and Cyborg wasn't fighting very frequently. I think there was an argument that Joanna was number one. Now, Joanna has lost.
Well, especially after that Holly Holm win.
Exactly. And Chris Cyborg is fighting frequently. She's picking up big wins now. To me, the top pound-for-pound fighter in the women's division, uncrowned champion Khabib Nurmagomedov. Cold coffee. Why are you hating over there?
I'm not hating. I'm just perplexed why he's the only one that's on there.
All right. This fight comes together on short notice against Yana Kunitskaya. Certainly, let's be honest. Most people don't know anything about Yana Kunitskaya. I mean, it is hard to cover this sport week in and week out if you're watching every UFC fight start to finish. Now you start adding in Invicta, you start adding in regional shows, it gets even tougher. There's no question about it. So I believe that most people breaking down this fight have never even seen Yana Kunitskaya fight. If we're being 100%
True
honest.
story.
I mean, for a lot of people, her most memorable victory is a fight that wasn't a victory that was
Yeah,
ultimately
it gets
overturned. So
right?
that one hurts a little bit too.
But let's talk about it. So this is the fight that was put together. It's not a fight that doesn't necessarily make sense. I mean, she had been fighting at bantamweight, but this is not one of those situations where you're taking a person that is a bantamweight and you blowing them up to featherweight. This is basically a featherweight who actually said she'd feel more comfortable at lightweight, but cut down to bantamweight because she realized that's where the bigger fights are at. Size-wise, we saw them today stare down, right? We saw them face-to-face for the first time today. Both of them were wearing heels, which is always a little bit weird. So I actually zoomed out with my
Were they
camera.
really? I didn't notice
Yeah,
that.
so you're shooting video. You're in tight.
Yeah.
I saw the size, and I was like, hold on. I better zoom out and take a still picture to make sure they're both wearing heels because that is weird. Sometimes in the
didn't
women's
realize
division,
that.
you'll have somebody walk in wearing flats and somebody wearing heels, and you're like, oh my god, they're so much different. And then you go back and you watch the tape, and you're like, oh, I'm an idiot. They're totally like not. But Yana Kunitskaya is every bit as big as Cyborg. Like she is not going to be overwhelmed. And you guys are both. We sat down with her yesterday, and whether it was false bravado or not, she said, "Listen, I'm not intimidated by this girl. Like we were supposed to fight in Strikeforce. It didn't happen because I had some visa issues. But I was ready for the fight then. I'm ready for the fight. Since then. And I'm not intimidated. And she had the line and Mike, you were the one that picked it out and put it in the headline. Of course, it made news, and rightfully so. But it wasn't unfair. I mean, it's not like you were twisting her words.
It was the classic Jeremy Stevens line. You knock people out, but I knock them fucking dead, or whatever.
That's
he kind
right.
of said.
She said, "Listen, Cyborg doesn't have one punch knockout KOs." Is basically what she said. She said she doesn't have knockout power, and if you just see that, you're like, okay, come on, that sounds stupid. But it is, I mean, if you think about it, you go back and watch all of Cyborg's fights. It's not like she's ever clipped somebody with like one shot to the
she
chin.
She doesn't have a Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey type of knockout or Betch Correia type
it's
of
those
thing.
Scary, overwhelming, where people are just like, I mean,
that's almost more frightening. She beats them until they curl up in a ball and waits for the referee to pull them off.
She's hit some people, and I've seen their soul leave the back of their body.
Well, that's the thing. So that's what's crazy. So you're right. She doesn't have that moment where she's put somebody's lights out, but I can point to almost every Cyborg fight, especially when I've been fortunate enough to sit cage side, and you can look into the eyes of the opponent, and they get clipped once, and all of a sudden you see like the look in their face change, like, oh shit.
Which is probably almost more gratifying for a fighter. I mean, anyone can say, "Oh, I just got clipped. Oh, it was a lucky shot. I didn't see it coming. Whatever." But you can't make many excuses for. She just beat the hell out of me, and I just needed the ref to save me, pretty much.
Right.
Leslie Smith I love Leslie Smith to death, but that was one where
even she was overwhelmed.
After she hit a couple shots, and it was just like, I don't want to be in here anymore.
Even she was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But she's as tough as they come. Yana
Kunitskaya was talking about it today at the end when we asked, and he said, I watched some of her practice with Arlovsky.
Yeah.
It was like, I watched her practice, and he's like, man, she hits hard.
Yep.
And this is Andre.
Yep.
He's saying that he looked like he was a little intimidated by her.
He was.
Actually.
He was. All right. So I mean, kind of, Yana Kunitskaya, she's been training martial arts her whole life. She does have like a striking background, taekwondo, karate since she was a little kid. Yeah. I mean, she's got all that. So I don't know. I mean, here's what I said. I mean, we taped our staff picks and all that, and what I said is like, listen, there are things to like. I mean, if you're one of those guys that's looking to throw down a couple of bucks because you're looking for a huge underdog, I mean, Kunitskaya is as big of an underdog as you're ever going to see in mixed martial arts, right? And there are things to like, right? Size-wise, she can stand in there with Cyborg. Like, she's not going to be like, oh, my God, I'm intimidated because this girl's so big. Mentally, she seems as strong as they come. I mean, you think about the Russian background. I mean, you hate to, generalize a whole country, but,
She comes from a camp that just had a fighter go 5 rounds with Cyborg, and that was one of her main training partners for this fight. So
there are things to like,
yeah.
right? So, I mean, if you're just looking for something to throw a couple bucks on and be like, well, there's a reason. There are reasons to like
There's
her,
been worse ones, for sure.
But at the end of the day, I mean, Cyborg's the right pick, right? And I will say this. I know... I don't think this fight card is going to do great on pay-per-view. I don't think it's going to do great.
I think 250 to 300 would be a pretty nice run for them.
Maybe so. I mean, I don't pretend to be an expert, but I do love the card. And I will say this. I get excited for Cyborg fights. I love watching Cyborg fight. I get pumped up. To me, it may be silly. It's kind of like, it's like comparing Conor McGregor to Muhammad Ali. It's not fair. You compare somebody to Muhammad Ali, it's not fair. Comparing Cyborg to Mike Tyson is kind of unfair because it's like, well, Mike Tyson, I mean, that's iconic. But it is like, to me, it does remind me of Mike Tyson fights. Like, you don't care who's on the other side of the cage.
And this is what everyone was asking for when they wanted Cyborg in the UFC, and they were demanding they stop with those ridiculous 140 catch weights or bringing up the idea of her kind of 135. So just make a 145 division. We want to see her fight in the UFC. We'll find out fights for her. We'll go one to another. And yes, they could do a better job trying to build up this division, making more legit contenders, except for instead of just pulling people from Invicta or whoever's the champion at bantamweight at that time. But this is what people wanted, and now you're getting it. So don't complain now that it's here, that Cyborg is headlining events and fighting completely overmatched opponents, because you were watching it in Invicta and you said she deserves this platform, and now she's getting it. So don't shit on her now, or the UFC, because this is what you asked for.
It was. I will say, in Cold Coffee, I know you were standing there today. I did think it was funny. I asked her today. I'm like, how crazy is this, right? Like, not that long ago, you're like, the UFC hates me, and now they're coming to you asking for favors. Like, can you
a
save
week after Ronda Rousey's
save our pay-per-view?
Wrestling in WWE, it's just a crazy world.
All right, well, listen, I think we're all siding with Chris Cyborg, no question about it. But I will say this: I'm excited about watching Chris Cyborg fight. Mike Bohn, I wanted to ask you. You got a chance to, kind of Cyborg related here, you got a chance to talk to Tito Ortiz today. I'll kind of set this up because I want people to get a chance to hear your interview with Tito Ortiz, but kind of set the scene for us and tell me what was going through your head and what you're thinking about, and just set it all up.
God, it all happened so quickly. We were sitting there watching Chris Cyborg's open workout, and I think, Mr. Cold Coffee over here got a little tip from maybe someone beforehand that a masked insider would be showing up at these open workouts. And
you know how I do.
Well, you see someone kind of creeping in the back, like holding their head in Jason Perillo's shoulder, or Rob Emerson, actually, not Jason Perillo. He was up there holding the pads, but wondering who that was. I had no idea. And then BJ Penn hops up on stage, and that whole thing happens. She's grappling around and managed to get a few minutes with BJ, and then saw Tito right over there too. I'm like, damn, I just talked to one Hall of Famer. Might as well try to go get another one. So walked over to Tito, and he was, I said, MMAjunkie interview you down, and he was very willing to give a few minutes of his time. And he, spoke kind of extensively about Cyborg fighting this girl, as he called her, because I don't think, knowing Tito, he wanted to even attempt to pronounce Yana Kunitskay's name on film. That would have been, just another clip for the memory bank of Tito. But yeah, he seems like to think she's in a great place in this fight. He talked a little bit about her fight, a little bit about his career status right now, and even made a prediction for the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix.
I dig it. All right, well, let's refresh our ballast points, and let's hear a little bit of the young Mike Bohn with Tito Ortiz.
The Hall of Famer, Tito Ortiz, 2 Hall of Famers here with Chris's team, you and BJ. What did you think about that?
That's cool. I mean, I think Chris just deserves the world, man. She's worked so hard to be where she is. Once again, on another main event, as the main event here in Las Vegas. It's nice to see that she's reaping the rewards from it.
I know. Were you surprised when she decided to step in and headline this card?
I wouldn't say really surprised, because the girl, she's strictly a professional. She trains all the time. She doesn't party. She doesn't do anything. So right now, fighting is her life. So when they offered her the fight, she said, "Okay, cool, let's make it happen." Yeah, it was good to see that she has the hunger still in her heart.
Yeah, what kind of internal discussion was there when it was offered? Because I know she said at first she was traveling, she was on vacation.
She was on vacation at the time. Of course, our manager, we had to sit down and make the right decision. Whole camp came together, and we said, "You want to do it? You want to do it?" She's all, "I'm in." And so she didn't even blink an eye at it. She's all, "I'm in."
Yeah, what kind of preparation is there? Because it just reminds me of you when you won at UFC 132, then you turned around and fought Rashad at 133.
Yeah, well, I think a little difference there is, I was in Vegas for a whole week after the win against Vader, so I was enjoying myself. But with her, she was just on vacation. She was still training. She was doing the things she needed to do to defend a world title. And when it came the opportunity to defend it, she didn't have no blink of doing it. There's no skipping her game at all, man. She's willing to go in and win.
And what do you do with a condensed camp like this? Like usually it's longer, into 5 weeks or so it was.
Well, I think it really comes down to, it goes from one camp to another, where she took maybe 2-3 weeks off. And with her, when she takes time off, it's great, a lot better for her body because she recovers more. But when it came into training, we had some of the top guys in the world, and guys too that are wrestlers that couldn't take her down. She was defending and getting the takedowns herself and sparring. She was on target. But I think this girl she's competing against is super tough. She comes from a great camp, being with Jackson's camp. They know how to prepare for champions, and hopefully they can be prepared for Chris, because Chris is for real.
Yeah, and I just asked BJ what he was most impressed about her. He said her mental strength. And what's the difference mentally when you go from fighting Holly Holm, regarded the biggest fight of her career, the closest odds ever, to a fight that I think this is the most lopsided odds she's had in a while?
No fight are lopsided at all, especially if they come from Team Jackson's camp. Holly came in with her hands full, and she fulfilled everything. We beat her at her own game, Chris beat her at her own game. Yeah. And in this one, it doesn't change. This girl comes in thinking that she can beat Chris, and Jackson's camp thinks they can beat Chris. So all things can be said until you get punched in the face. When that first punch in the face happens, it'll be Chris doing it.
And just last thing, are you still comfortable in retirement right now?
I'm very comfortable in retirement now. I guess Dana put the kibosh on me and Chuck, so I don't know. It is what it is. I'm being the good guy by listening to the bosses at the end of the day, and not making decisions on myself. It just, if it's meant to be, I'll put it in God's hands.
So does this mean you're no longer contractually tied to Bellator at all?
I think we got maybe 30 days or 15 days, but it's only up to negotiations.
Who do you think wins that tournament? Who do you think wins that heavyweight tournament over in Bellator?
Heavyweight tournament, probably Matt Mitrione. Yeah. Since Rampage is out, I thought Rampage had a good chance at it, but it is what it is. Rampage is back in training now, and hopefully it could be feeling for it.
Thank you so much for the time, Tito. Much appreciated.
Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow. Mike, you guys should have totally heard the off-air stuff that was happening. Right? That was terrible. Yeah, that was the young Mike Bohn with Tito Ortiz. How about the young Mike Bohn doing TMZ style stuff?
I dig it.
We got all kinds of iPhone stuff. I mean,
know,
here we are. I mean, we go out and we spend thousands of dollars of USA Today's money and our own money. Let's be honest.
I was going to say a lot of our own money.
on camera equipment, and he's just rolling around with his iPhone, just knocking out Hall of Famers.
And who can't appreciate a few minutes of BJ?
I'm a big fan of let's not go there. Let's not go there. All right, Danny Austin, what's going on, brother? Cheers to you, sir.
What's happened, guys? It's good to see you.
You know, it's funny because normally Vegas events.
Cheers, eh?
We don't
like Australia.
That was so Australian.
That was terrible.
No Canadian
That's
has
like
ever
Canadian.
sounded like that.
Yeah.
We don't normally Vegas events, man. You know, obviously we kind of stick to home. You know, so
Of
we don't really
course.
get to hang out. So it's kind of fun to get to hang out. Obviously,
Normally for Vegas, I normally roll in on the Tuesday. I check if you're up for dinner, and other than that, you know, there are rare exceptions.
Sure.
But I normally these are the events where I see you guys at the events, and unfortunately, I mean, you weren't in Boston, so I missed you there. So it's been a couple months.
It has been a while, man. It's good to see you again, brother. I know you just spent a lot of time covering the Olympics. Canada did strong, obviously.
It was a good time.
As always.
We lost in hockey and curling to you guys, though. So
Isn't
So
that amazing?
is that painful? Like, are those the two that are most important? Would that be like?
we had our best Olympics ever, and there was literally one night where women's hockey, like men's hockey this year, the NHL guys weren't there. So women's hockey, which there's only two countries who play women's hockey and are good at it, and it's Canada and America.
Right.
And you guys beat us in overtime or in a shootout, and it hurt. And I went to bed. I'll be honest with you, I drank some whiskey that night. I had a good damn time.
That was a really good shootout. That was amazing.
It was one of the best hockey games I've ever seen. And I
amazing.
woke up and I was like, at least we got them in curling. And you guys somehow beat us in curling. And we had the best Olympics. And that one day, I mean,
but you guys usually take it though. Canada women, they've won it like the last.
Yeah, we won it. You guys beat us in
3 or 4
'98 in
times
Nagano, which was the first ever women's Olympic, and we'd won every other gold medal game against you guys. So we don't lose, and our girls are badass, man. Canadian women, y'all don't mess with us.
Even on curling, what's funny, you bring up curling, there
It's
were
good
some
that you guys-
countries that were really good in curling that had no idea. Like Japan has a sick curling team. Same with South Korea.
As you guys know,
had,
I
a sick
used to be.
curling
I don't do curling anymore, but I used to literally a huge part of my job was covering curling.
Really?
I've covered the women's world championship. I've covered all of them, and
So would you cover brooming styles and
oh,
sweeping?
I know it all. I know it all.
His sweeping
I
game
care
is
so much
off
about it
today.
too. It's not even I legitimately am still upset that our women's team had no business losing. But to be fair, you guys winning, Vegas is hosting the men's World Curling Championships.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I saw that.
I didn't see that.
in I think it's in 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now.
Wow.
And it's a huge deal, and it's awesome for the sport that the Americans won.
Yeah.
But I'm allowed to swear. Fuck y'all.
It was a really good game. That was.
Yeah.
That was. I was glad I caught that game.
And it was cool,
really good.
frankly, and you guys know. I mean, it's the same thing with MMA. When MMA gets that mainstream thing, even when we hate it, there's still a level where we're it's cool seeing these people talk about it. So for me, it was really neat seeing curling, a sport that's so obscure and so weird, getting covered by ESPN, by these major American outlets, and seeing all these sports reporters who've never talked about curling getting into it was super exciting.
And you saw celebrities, the way they've been giving it the coverage. You saw all the celebrities that were coming out tweeting to Schuster and all these cats dude, go America, blah blah blah, which is awesome because
exactly.
Honestly, when the first days, I felt really bad because I missed a lot of the Olympics, and when I finally was all right, you got to do your American duty, turn on the Olympics. One of the first sports that was on was curling, and it was awesome.
It was awesome.
I didn't change it. I was just thank you very much. This is exactly what I wanted to see.
It's the same thing. I remember I lived in India years ago, and I met up with these Australian guys, and I was I don't get cricket. And they were yo, what don't you understand about sitting in the sun and drinking beer? Yeah. And that's all cricket is. And if you have ever lived in the north, and not Toronto like Mike Bohn over there, real Canada, I live, I'm from Calgary. The winter's long. And I curl because I got to do something to get out of the house. And
I curl, therefore I am.
I curl, therefore I am. Yeah. So the Olympics were awesome. It was such a fun and I mean I was actually CFL's not going on, right. So I was actually in Calgary, just able to kind of sit back and watch it. I love the Olympics. I had a great time.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, now you're back to MMA Beat. Let me ask you from a national Canadian reporter standpoint, USC 222 coming down here. Of course, things have changed. Was your travel booked before everything changed, or did was there discussion about that? I mean, this card is. I think, and I'm going to get your take on it, but I kind of think, I'm just guessing. I think you agree with me that this is a fun card, but I don't think it necessarily has, of course, the national headline.
As just someone who likes MMA, I'm really hyped for this card. anytime I get the chance to see Cyborg fight, I think this Ortega Frankie fight. I mean, I heard you guys talking about it, but like, I think it's great. I like the Mackenzie Dern angle.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot on this card that I am genuinely fascinated.
So did
by.
you have to sell your employers, or were your employers okay
I
with it?
never told them that Max got hurt.
Good thing they don't listen to this podcast.
It has been very cold for a long time.
Gangster move. They're too busy with the Olympics. They didn't even know.
I never told them, and it was approved, and it's just like, and I'm here. And so, honestly, I think Cyborg's a star.
I know that's what's crazy. Is that, I mean, I think of course we're all bummed. I mean, Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar was going to be amazing, but Edgar Ortega as a filler co-main, especially, like even if that was the filler main, it would have been amazing.
It couldn't have been a pay-per-view.
It could. That would have been the problem.
That would have been the problem, and that's fine. The question is like purely as like, hey, I like this sport. You guys have been around longer than I have, but I've been on the road for the sport for 5 years now, and I've covered events like this before, where I remember it was Dodson, Demetrius Johnson, which at the time I showed up and I had people be like, what are you doing here?
Right.
Like, this is a terrible card. And if you go back and look at that card now, there's so many fighters who ended up fighting for titles, who ended up becoming stars. Yep. So I actually like these cards where a little bit I just feel like I'm interacting with the sport. I'm being forced to think about the sport in a different way. And I'm not just in Boston. I didn't write about anything other than the main event or the co-main event the entire time that I was there.
Yeah, that was the headlines, right?
Yeah.
That was all the headlines. And you would be remiss if you weren't writing about this huge heavyweight title clash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this card, I'll be honest, the first story that I thought I was going to write coming in here was because Valentina Shevchenko's last fight against a UFC debutant went so badly and was so gross, I had to come into this week being like, do I think that this was an irresponsible booking in the main event? And I mean, I listened to what you guys said, and I really wanted to be sort of responsible. And the more I researched it, and the more I tried to figure out more, about a fighter who I don't know anything about. She's Russian. I don't watch Invicta unless I have enough free time. Right. I just do it for fun. I didn't know anything about her, and the more I've seen, and the more I've read, like, no, this is not that fight. This is not. I do think that it still begs the question. Was this an irresponsible booking? My answer is no. It's a fun booking, and if the refereeing does well, if she gets knocked out, she gets knocked out.
Yep.
If she gets beat, she gets beat. Hopefully, the ref's on top of things and doesn't let what happened in that Valentina fight happen. I love the co-main, and top to bottom, this card's way better than the Boston card.
I agree. That Boston card, I wasn't there, and I was kind of bummed because the main and co-main were so awesome. But once you got outside of that, it got thin pretty quick.
I did not write a single story about another fighter.
It got thin. All right, so look, I really wanted to talk to you about the co-main because it is such a big fight. But since you brought up the Mackenzie Dern angle, obviously, I mean, here you are. You're a Canadian reporter. And now that's a prelim fight, and that interests you, right? I mean, yes. that came to your mind right away. Here's this intriguing Brazilian jiu-jitsu expert that has been, I mean, everybody's known she's coming to the UFC for a long time. Now she's finally here. She's fighting Ashley Yoder. So what is it about you? I mean, that's one of the names that rattle off your tongue. Why is that one that enthralls you?
I mean, to be honest, it actually does relate to Ortega, to be perfectly honest. Like, I love these fighters who are just amazing at one thing. And like Mackenzie, I mean, she literally told me today that she doesn't like punching people in the face. I mean, she said that quote a couple times, but what interests me is that I do like Ashley Yoder is a good fighter by all accounts who doesn't specialize in anything. And I think she's going to get destroyed because it's interesting seeing someone just being so good at something. And that's what fascinates me about her. It is just, she is probably the best. I mean, in context, she is the best jiu-jitsu practitioner who's ever fought in the UFC, arguably. Yep. And I'm so interested to see just what that does when you can use other defenses, but you probably can't beat her at.
You know what's funny is I so agree with that because I feel like it's this full circle moment, right? Like, again, maybe in the same way I just said earlier, like I went full circle, like I hated Brock Lesnar, and now like I don't care, like I want Brock Lesnar in. I think full circle too, like, you know, the whole thing is like in the beginning, like this was style versus style, right? It was like, you know, style versus style, let's see who the best is, right? And then the style morphs, and then you're like, you know what the great thing is about mixed martial arts is that we've seen how you have to learn everything, and then everybody gets so well rounded that you're like, okay, awesome, you know, now we've created a new style. You know, mixed martial arts is a style in itself where you have to know a little bit of everything. But then, you know, look at a guy like Israel Adesanya that comes in the other day, whose striking is so on a damn different level that you're like, oh, wait a minute. You don't. I mean, yes, you need to be well-rounded, but then you can get to this level of this, and I agree. I mean, this is world championship in her entire life jiu-jitsu, and it's funny.
And Brian Ortega just beat Cub Swanson.
Yes.
Like, we've seen a specialist only do one thing and literally beat one of the best in the world. Like,
I love the specialist aspect.
So do I.
I love the specialist aspect.
And yeah, I looks like Kenny's about to talk, but like,
no, he just wanted to.
I love that, like, it is more fun in this sport following someone from their debut right up, right? Like, it is.
Thank you.
I want to see that fighter come in, impress me, and then at the sport's best, there's a progression, and I want to watch her from. I've known her since before she made her. Not known her personally,
right.
but like I've known who she was. I've watched. She's actually someone I've watched all her fights, and now I get to see her compete at the UFC level, and that's exciting. And that is what the sport should be. That is what sport is.
All right. Speaking of specialists, and let's get back to 222 in a second. But since you're sitting here, and I'm not going to see you in 2 weeks, do you just want to go ahead and throw a little Hakeem Dawodu?
Yeah, I mean, this is it.
There?
This is the next Canadian superstar.
Tell me, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've known Hakeem. Hakeem, I have actually known personally.
Yeah.
I live in Calgary. There has not, since Nick Ring, been a Calgary-based UFC.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, that's how you're going to tease him.
No.
He's the next Nick Ring.
No. Hakeem was the North American. I mean, he literally beat the American Muay Thai champion. I have been watching him fight 6 times a year in Muay Thai. He fought in World Series. He never fought an amateur in MMA. Mm-hmm. He just got that World Series contract and had one draw and won all 5 of his other fights and avenged that draw in like really, really impressive fashion. I think that this guy is a striker. To be honest, I think that he's probably the best Canadian striker ever.
Yep.
And is coming in. He's training at SBG, which some people are like questioning. I also think that what John Kavanagh is really good at is working with strikers and giving them the rest of the tools so that they can stick with the striking, they can stick with their strengths. I think you're going to see Hakeem Dawodu. I honestly think he'll be I think he's a top 10 featherweight right now.
We're going to sit down with him in London. I've put him on my list of pre-interviews because I don't think maybe they'll have him at the media day. I kind of doubt it, being a foreigner and but I want to sit down with him. I've seen
he's an interesting interview. And I mean, it's worth talking about. I mean, I can give you angles. I'll give them off the air.
All right,
like he's great and he's gonna be great. Does that mean he's gonna be champion? No, but we all know, like
he's talented.
There's a lot of great fighters.
I've seen him fight. I think he's the real deal. I'm excited. All right, before we get back to 222, because I do want to talk about the co-main event, I want to ask you about the John Jones hearing. That was the other big piece of news this week for sure, and we were all watching it.
Did you watch all 2.5 hours?
Nope.
It was tough.
I watched the first hour, then I actually flew, and I watched his testimony.
Yeah.
I watched the highlights of, but I watched everything up, and like I've certainly read a lot about it because.
Well, and that's why I want to ask you guys because I don't want to necessarily break this down every bit and angle. I mean, we're here talking about 222, and I want to do that, but I did want to kind of get your guys' thoughts on it because I've said going into this thing that I thought John Jones was going to get 2 years, and to be honest with you, I still think 2 years is fair at a minimum. And the thing is, I feel bad because at the same time as I think John Jones probably deserves 2 years, I honestly don't necessarily think that he's a purposeful cheater. But, carelessness the first time around maybe. Carelessness to some degree here. I mean,
I don't think to some degree. I'll let you guys – I want to hear your guys' opinions on it. When he admitted, look, he popped once.
Right.
It was careless. And I get that most of the fighters probably don't read the entire manual. But for him to say, like, I didn't read the manual, I got my team to just forge my signature on it, that is reckless. That's not careless.
And that's exactly what I wanted to get. I mean, you said it better than I can. I feel bad because, as you said, I'm sure most athletes do it that way. Like, hey, manager, can you knock this out for me? But, bro, this was –
I wonder. I would think that most fighters would take more interest or more – ownership of the fact of like you don't think I mean how bad can this manual or this training be that they can't just stomach the fact of watching this video or reading whatever to go I mean, that's what you do. You're a fighter, and this is part of your thing. You don't think that they – I mean, look for us. For even USA Today. Right. USA Today, we had to do different stupid online – not stupid. It was wonderful in case they're listening to this. But we all have to do that online training, different stuff. But it's like you just man up and you do it because that's my obligation.
Right.
I mean, if I could, yeah, I'm going to still watch it and hit skip, next, whatever, as soon as you can. But the fact to not just do that one thing and to put it off on somebody else, I guarantee every other fighter watches it and does it themselves. The fact to not even care as much to just put that off just makes me think that he's very lackluster with everything that goes into his body. Somebody else does his nutrition. Somebody gives him his pills.
Okay, I'll say this. If I had to put a number on it of how but see the thing is not everybody has to watch that, so it's hard to put a number on it. But let's say they rolled out something
Isn't it
that
for the whole pool?
Let's say no, it's only because he had been busted, so he had to watch something. So let's say they did say, guys and girls, everybody on the roster, all 600 of you, 550 of you, whatever it is at this moment, every one of you has to watch this and click submit that you agree. I say 10% watch it.
See, I thought they all had to.
No. This was specific to him.
So this was only
but that's
this
why
was a punishment thing, and he still didn't do it.
Exactly. That's why what you said, Danny.
Dude.
Exactly. That's why you said dude. That's why it doesn't go from careless, it goes to reckless.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's careless if 550 people on the roster had to watch it. It's reckless because you had a problem. They asked you to do this as part of your, welcome back to the sport, and you still didn't do it. And I appreciate the fact. I'm going
to give you an example right now. I lost it too. Like sometimes your tooth just cracks. This is literally 2 weeks ago, and I had to try to go figure out what my medical coverage provided me to dental surgery. I tried and I got bored and I didn't read it, and my tooth is still missing. Yeah. I get that reading paperwork sucks.
Right.
But this is millions of dollars and your professional reputation.
Right.
On the line. I think that we are allowed to expect that John took this seriously and did it properly.
Yes.
At the very least, had a lawyer who would explain it to him. Do it. There are a lot of different ways. I think he was reckless about it, and 2 years seems just about appropriate, whether it was intentional or not. If he had been able to find the contaminated, I actually appreciated that he didn't. I appreciated that they admitted it. Right. That they were like, look, we tried. We don't know what happened. We didn't have to deal with some bullshit. But the fact is, you can't defend John Jones in this situation. He has admitted negligence. He popped for the second time when he should have been more careful than anyone has ever been in their life.
Right.
Because he would have gotten that.
And that's just it. Fight. If he said, "Look, hey man, I've been more careful," and he did. He's like, "Hey, we've done everything." And again, I mean,
give me examples, John.
Well, some people grilled him. Some people grilled him.
Give me examples where he's done better.
Well,
don't just give me generalities. Give me an example, sir.
Well, listen, the guy, from what I can tell, John Jones is very well as Stephen A. Smith, so that's got to mean something, right? I mean that's got to mean.
Have you guys heard of the great African
Stephen
A. Smith?
But look, by the way, Commissioner was a by the way, first of all, I just want to say as just a life tip in general, and I don't mean this necessarily to insult this gentleman at all, but all I'm saying is, as a life tip, if you ever feel that, a need or desire to weigh in on something, to give your opinion on something, don't preface that point by saying, I haven't heard a word you said, but I'm going to go ahead and give my opinion anyway. That was a pretty comical relief moment. No, I feel bad for John because, listen, I honestly don't think John is a purposeful cheater. I don't. But you're right. I said careless, and I think I was trying to give him a little benefit of the doubt. You're right. It's reckless. I mean, if he'd come back and said, listen, I saw some people giving him grief because he said they were USADA approved. USADA doesn't actually approve, but I think what he meant was the third-party approval. Yeah. I got it. But to admit that, listen, there were steps that they asked you to take, and you skipped the steps. Yeah. But you're still asking for leniency. You know what I mean? It's one thing.
Exactly it.
If you come in and you say, listen, I found this tainted supplement. Oh, you found the tainted supplement? Yes, I did. It was this supplement right here. Did you take the, class? No, I didn't take the class. I'm sorry. But I still found the tainted supplement. Okay, now you got an argument. If you come in and you say, listen, court, and I know it's not an actual court, but if you come in front of people, whether it be whatever situation in your life, and you come to somebody and you say, listen, I know what I've been accused of. I really don't have a good explanation for it. I'm asking you for leniency. And by the way, everything you've ever asked of me, I've done.
Yeah.
Can you please give me some leniency? But if you say, no, I haven't done what you've asked me, I just...
And I think he got due process, right? Like, I
Right.
think that, like, he literally got it. And unfortunately, like, the rules need to be followed. And I think the California State Athletic Commission, who, in general, are, like, my heroes.
Right.
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Like, I think that we need that athletic commission more than... I mean, they have been progressive on weight cutting. They've been, like... I trust them. They seem like they are a very professional
Andy
group of
Foster
people.
cares, man. That dude cares.
And I mean, it sucks. I hope. Look, I'm of the belief that there's another argument, which is if John gets suspended for 2 years, like I think there are people who are like, once you've cheated, once you've been caught on drugs, like that's the be all and the end all. That's like he deserves to be punished and come back and continue his career. And like I will accept that.
Yes.
And same thing with Brock. I you know, like do that extra 6.5 months.
I agree.
But look, at the end of the day, if the rules are not, if the rules aren't followed, you need to be punished for that based on like what's already established. So I'm bummed that we don't get to see John fight for a while.
I know.
But
That's
I'm also
fight against Cormier was so scintillating, dude, and his attitude around the whole thing and his speech was amazing. But I'm saying
you are someone
I think
who
2 years.
after fights, like normally on Media Row, I expect you to pound out your work and kind of just go to the back and get set up to the post fight. And it is one of the only times that you like looked at me and went, baddest man on the planet.
Yep.
And,
Is
like,
that right?
You literally said that to me. And
Baddest man on the planet.
And like we're excited by what you'd seen.
Such a bummer. All right, listen. I should say, by the way, if you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Jump into iTunes. It doesn't take you but a second, right? Cold Coffee. Just log in real quick. You can give us a rating. Hopefully 5 stars. If you can even take a second to leave us a review, that'd be even better. You could be like, I don't want to read this wrong because it seems like it says TD Scum, but
Yeah, maybe Scoom.
TD Scum.
TD Scoom.
There you go. I like that better. Our man TD Scoom says, with a chuckle and a few cold beverages, John Morgan and Cold Coffee provide the insider's perspective on upcoming MMA events like no other podcast. Keep up the great work.
Oh,
As Jose and
I
I
like
were walking
OTD.
over, I was like, hey, we can have a chuckle.
All I want is a chuckle and a cold beverage and some MMA insider knowledge. All right, let's talk about this co-main event because as much as we all said, man, we like Cyborg and we're excited about watching Cyborg and it is fun. I mean, it is like watching a superstar, right? And she does click. I will say, as a website operator, she does click. She does click. But as a fight fan,
Love that.
the main event is Ortega and Frankie Edgar. Danny, just give me your thoughts, man, because man, this is such a tough fight to call, right? Frankie's a legend. You know, it's funny because just a couple weeks ago, I was in Austin with Cowboy, you know, and Cowboy gave that great speech and all those things, and I mean, and he had a great performance. And Cowboy, to me, is one of those legends of the sport. You know, again, he doesn't have that championship status, but a definite legend of the sport.
We know it's not about that championship status all the time. Right?
Frankie Edgar adds that championship status as well, but I mean, Frankie Edgar, like, how can you? I was joking with Cold Coffee earlier. By the way, are you just enjoying?
yeah,
this
man,
balance
it just hit me, and I didn't know if anybody else was drinking, but yeah, this mango even keel session IPA. I took a sip. I thought it was a Fathom as well, but man, the mango, it puckered my lips. It was really tasty. I was like, but nobody else is drinking it, so I can't share in this moment with anybody. But it was really, really good.
Second?
Yeah, it was really
I've
good.
never even heard of a mango beer, but I'm
Oh, you're
super
gonna have one.
Mango
You're gonna have
even
I'm gonna
keel.
have one.
So-
Dude, this Ballast Point is the shit.
Ballast Point. Ballast Point.
Okay.
All right, so Frankie Edgar. All right, so it was funny. I was joking with Cold Coffee earlier. We were sitting here and we were like processing the video and doing some stuff. And I was looking on like some of our YouTube stuff that we were uploading, and I was like, looking at the interview I did with Frankie Edgar yesterday, a little sit down I did with him yesterday, because it was, I mean, there were like 14 people to talk to in 45 minutes a day, which is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
So we did a few yesterday. Frankie was one of them, and it was funny because I was looking and there were like 180 upvotes and 2 downvotes, and I'm like, how do you downvote Frankie Edgar? Like, I don't care who are you. I mean, Frankie Edgar is, dude, he's an absolute legend of sport. But then you got Ortega, who not only is he a great fighter, I mean, of course, the fight against Cub was the fight that everybody's remembering right now. But then now that people are getting to know him, and you see he's this, first of all, fully Spanish speaking, so very cool there. This laid back SoCal guy, but a dude that has love for the people, like is creating, organizations and stuff so we can give back.
He's legitimately more interested in talking about charity work than he is about his opponents.
Right?
Like, he has no interest. And I honestly think that, like, and this, I don't think it affects my coverage. I can genuinely say that two of just my favorite arbitrary number 5 people in the sport.
I agree.
Are Frankie Edgar. Like, they both just seem like legitimately good guys who are like athletes who fight.
Right.
And I love watching both of them fight. I think Brian Ortega, I mean, his rise is
amazing,
astonishing, but I also just like the way he fights. I mean, he's the opposite of Francis Ngannou in that sense. And,
right.
They both have very different skill sets, but there are guys who I don't mind just getting excited about.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to write this in print, but, like, just talking to you, like, man, I want to see what Brian Ortega does on Saturday night.
Right.
Because my gut is Frankie just takes these prospects and destroys them.
He's just on a different level, right?
Yes. And I think he is. Look, the only guy Frankie Edgar loses to is Jose Aldo.
Right.
But I think that Brian Ortega, with what he did to Cub, and yes, that's the last thing in our mind, but it also matters because we all know how good Cub Swanson is. And every split second that Cub just turned off, Swanson was on him. Or, sorry, I'm sorry.
Ortega was on him.
Ortega was on him. And I think that just his specific skill set means that Frankie has to be perfect. Well, he has to be perfect, and he can be perfect.
There you go. There you go. Because again, we're talking about those specialists again. Not that Ortega isn't a well-rounded fighter. He is a well-rounded fighter, but his jiu-jitsu is on a different level. And it was funny, Cole Coffey, when we were talking to Frankie, I was asking him, what's it like to get ready for a specialist, especially on this short of notice, and he's like, listen, I mean, the thing about. And it was funny because not that he was downgrading him. I mean, he realizes what he's up against. Frankie's the consummate professional. He gets it. But it was funny because he was saying, like, listen, the thing is, he might not set it up, but if it's there, he'll grab it. You know what I mean? And that alludes to exactly what you said. Is like, dude, you have to be perfect. That's what's amazing to me about Ortega is, like, you almost don't even have to make a mistake. It almost just has to be like, you know what I mean? Like, you just happen to leave your head in the wrong position, which isn't even really – I mean – if he grabs onto, like,
it's
you're
not
in trouble.
You leave. It's your head is in the wrong position.
Yeah.
Because in
That's
fighting,
like
your head is not always in the right position. Yeah, and he is that good. And I don't think that, like, we've seen a guy in his 20s. I don't think there's another guy in his 20s right now who has that skill set in any of the divisions. And, like, it's fascinating. It's fun because we all, again, we watch the sport in the era of specialists. And yeah, he is well rounded. It's not fair to just call him a jiu-jitsu guy. But, like, talking to Frankie today, and I didn't ask him about Conor. I want to be fucking clear. A lot of people did.
I didn't ask him about Conor either. Somebody even asked me. I'm like, I don't. Yeah, I didn't want to ask him.
What were they bringing up?
I don't know. To me, fight week. Let's focus on the fight.
But
yeah,
and the reason I said that was because he seemed to genuinely, like, it was like he was exhaling after, he'd been holding his breath, having to deal with all this trash talk and all this crap for a couple years, and he was like, "Oh, I'm back to getting to fight the fighters who I, like, grew up fighting."
Right.
He genuinely just seemed relaxed and, like, wanted to say good things about Ortega.
Yep.
Like, he genuinely just seemed, and it was such a relief for me.
Dude, this is just a great, to me. All right, so here we are, right? Like, we're talking about the lull of MMA and how bad it is. Like, to me, like, this is fucking MMA at its best, right?
Yeah.
This ain't no grudge match. This ain't no people that don't like each other. This is just straight up, like, two of the greatest fighters on the planet right now facing off in the cage. And look, I had to give a staff pick. Cole Coffey, I went with Frankie Edgar, even though I got to be honest, I'm Ortega. I'm an Ortega guy.
Well, it's so much.
But I'm a Frankie guy. I mean, dude.
I think that as media, and I don't have to make picks, but I make picks to friends and all that. Like, I feel like there hit a point where, because of Conor, where what he did, where he was this amazing prospect who had so much hype, and he actually did it. I was just picking the prospects every time.
Right.
And then I watched Yair get beat by Frankie. I mean, I've just watched Francis, and now I'm kind of back on the, like, just play it safe with picking Frankie for this fight.
It's that tough moment to pick the spot where the student is ready to become the teacher, right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's always hard to pick, like, where's that edge?
And I mean, we saw it. Rose did it, right? Like, what a special night that was in New York. Seeing her do it. I 100% didn't even consider. Max did
Max
it.
all the way did it.
They happen, and they're special, big, fun nights.
Yep.
But it's
Did you
always
pick
safer.
Rose in that fight?
No.
I was like, did anybody pick Rose?
But I'm saying, like, that's the thing. Like, I have been picking safe.
Yeah.
I think I picked Aldo, you know. And in this fight, like, I am going to pick Frankie. But it feels like one of those ones where I'm picking, but I also recognize.
I don't know if I know picks. I'm pretty sure I picked Ortega.
I picked Frankie. But I tell you what, man, I'm such an Ortega. And again, I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to writing stories, when it comes to doing play-by-play, when it comes to scoring rounds, I'm as unbiased as it comes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to drinking a frosty beverage
Exactly.
and talking with my boys about MMA, like I love Ortega, man, dude. The opportunity I got his last fight it was such a small show and there was no attention there, and I got to sit down with him for like 20 minutes and talk to him about his life, and then all fight week, like
You posted that video of him singing.
Yeah.
It's about the Thomas Rhett song.
yeah.
And I was like, I now listen to that song once a day.
Right?
Because
It's
it was like the most
amazing,
charming
right?
thing I've
It was
ever
great.
seen.
I was hoping he would play that at the open workouts there, or whatever. You know? And the whole week, man, him and his crew were like playing dominoes, and I mean, just it was cool. You know, as much as I love the big events like this, you know, it was cool to have that. But then again, Frankie Edgar, like to me, like that's one of the top guys of all time. I mean, that is literally, he is one of the greatest of all time. And can we just say, shout out to Frankie Edgar for real, because straight up, he had the title shot. Max Holloway's only out for 12 weeks or whatever it is. All he has to say is, "I'm out."
He
I'll
never
wait.
hesitated. We knew that he was sticking with this fight the entire time.
How amazing is that? I mean, dude, don't understate that. Like seriously, don't understate that. I mean, fighters want the money fight and all that and the big fight, and then here's Frankie going like, "I don't give a damn." And he's like, "Dude, if I'm gonna call myself in the best in the world, I got to beat everybody in the division."
You and Mike Bohn were talking about it. I also don't think that you can understate Cyborg saving this card. Coming in, like those things, like they do matter. And I think one of the things that drives me nuts is if a fighter turns it down.
Right.
Everyone loses their mind and gets mad at him and
Right.
says he's scared. He's scared. So like they deserve, the
The flip
requisite.
side.
The flip side. Yeah.
You're right, because the truth is when fighters make those decisions, they're not scared.
No.
There is not a person on the UFC roster that's scared of anybody else on the UFC roster. Period. Point blank. They're making business decisions.
It's a calculation.
It's a calculation.
And I respect the calculation on both sides, but damn do I love it. If Frankie Edgar was like, I'm still on this card. This card is not getting canceled. I'll be there. I love it. And
this
took
fight
a
is
tough
it.
fight. I love it. I love it.
Obviously, you don't need Dana White to be here to lay the stakes out. We know the winner gets Holloway. Period. I mean, Edgar, of course, is already there. If he wins, and like if
I
Ortega
know that
wins, nobody else.
Jose's here.
Yep.
I will say that like if the UFC is smart and Ortega does win this, man, you're trying to expand with female fans. That's your dude. That's a good-looking man who like literally just like he's a good-looking guy who isn't a creep. That's the guy who I'm like sending out Brian Ortega calendars to the ladies.
He definitely does everything right. He's definitely a role model, a guy that you want to build up. I mean, the guy goes out and he does charity work. I mean, today in open work, he had a great moment bringing his younger brother up, and it was a nice, playful moment. I mean, I think it was Oscar from the Mac Life that came, and he's like, man, can I just tell you, man, Brian Ortega, man, I kind of got lost in his eyes. And we were joking about it. I mean, he's a good-looking dude, but he does everything right. He's definitely the type of role model, the guy that you want representing your company.
And I'll say this, too. I mean, not only that, but what I didn't realize until this week is I knew he spoke Spanish. What I didn't know is that Spanish is his first language.
Yeah.
So not only does he speak Spanish a little bit, not only does he speak Spanish fluently, no, Spanish was actually his first language.
Yeah.
So
Did you say he was going to start tutoring Kane?
That wasn't Danny saying that.
All right. Danny Austin, ultimately, did you end up are you end up going Frankie, but like it's a hesitant pick with Frankie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Cold coffee, Frankie, but you're
No, I picked Ortega.
You rolled Ortega?
I think I went Ortega.
Yeah.
I'd have to look and pick, but I think and I love Frankie. I mean, he's super, super tough, but I don't know. And I'm the worst dude on our fucking roster right now when it comes to picks. I think I picked.
He battled for 2 years to get on the list,
and
now he's
then
in last
I'm bringing
place.
up the rear.
He's like, take me off.
It's like the day for the Bellator fights, Houlihan and Nelson did 2 interviews with him. These are like 2 friends. I'm like, they're going to look at my picks and give me shit. Never give me another interview. I'm like, all right, I'm going to take one for the team. I'm going to pick those 2. I was wrong in both of those cases. And, I don't know. So I picked with my heart way too much. But in this case, I don't know. I just feel like right now I just feel it's Ortega's time. I mean, he's doing everything right.
I'm not gonna lie.
And no offense to
my
Frankie,
heart's with Ortega. My heart's with Ortega.
Yeah, he's just doing everything
one of the
right.
worst things about making picks any of the time is that like they're written in stone when you don't really want them to be.
I know.
Like you have to pick someone and it's like, yo, this is 100%. The reader thinks that. When meanwhile you're like, oh, I need 6 paragraphs to explain why I think,
the MMAjunkie readers are much better than me at this.
Well, I was saying too. You know what's even funny too is like we've had situations where, we'll have a pick, and now we have 14 people picking on our staff, which is crazy. But it may be 14-0 in one direction, but all of us are like 51-49, 51-49, 50. So like 14-0. It's very clear that everybody believes this. Like, nah, it's like basically we're all split in the middle. We just happen to lean 1% this other direction.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, listen. This is a great fight. To me, I mean, this is one of the best fights of the year. I hope that's not too grand, but to me, this is one of the fights I'm most excited about. I mean, granted, we're what, like 9 weeks into the year, but
no, but
this is amazing.
Legitimately, though, like for all of the crap that this company has taken, and I'm actually giving it too. Like I have my problems with the way this company is being run right now and promoted, but like. I like this card. 223 is going to be great.
Sick. 223 is sick.
Like what we know from here until July is awesome.
It's strong.
I love the Cormier-Stipe fight. I love it. Can I ask you guys one question?
Yeah.
What's the November New York headliner?
November?
I'm just
We're
curious.
already thinking about November?
I just want to know because there are generally 2 big cards in the year right now. I guess 3 because you get the New Year's card, but that hasn't been as big recently. So you have International Fight Week and then you have the New York card. So that'll be something special, something different. I think it's going to be George and Connor.
Brock Lesnar.
You think?
Brock Lesnar in there? I don't know.
I'm just curious as to what the like big. If you were just guessing for fun, end of the year, what's the blockbuster? Because in New York,
I mean, you got all right. So
there's 3 guys.
I mean, Connor factors in there somewhere. I mean, Connor's definitely coming back. There's the September event in Russia that's more than likely going to happen, but that's a fight night. That's not a pay-per-view. No. Connor's not fighting on that. And again, by the way, can I just go back to when everybody was talking shit about Dana White saying Connor wanted to fight Khabib in Russia? Of course he said that. He said that. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's the same thing like Connor said he'll fight this. Anyway, whatever. So he won't fight in Russia. You think Connor GSP?
I mean, like, all indications are that GSP is dropping the weight. Connor's sitting there. I mean, he can come and do the lightweight thing. I'd love to see him do it. That's always been the fight. You said it. I remember listening to the Roadshow in New York. You guys were like, that's the fight that they're going to make.
That's the fight.
And it's been a couple months.
But at what weight?
Do it 165, do it 170. Who cares?
It's because there's no fucking way he
That's
can
why
get anywhere
he wanted
down.
to win the 165 title this week, set it up for November.
I think that they're going to, like, it's the fight that makes sense for that card.
All right, well, let's do this.
Because even if it feels like, GSP's having issues at 170 at this point.
My frosty beverage is empty, so
I
need to
I just wanted to toss that there because I want.
That would be interesting. I'd have to think on that one.
We'll carry on in Brooklyn.
Look, I want to know why Francis Ngannou has towels around him between rounds. I don't know if you guys heard me. How much trouble I got in that.
He was so enamored with it.
I got in so much trouble for that.
I don't know.
They were so mad at me.
They were upset at you.
Yeah, but I'm fine with that.
Good luck in that interview.
It was a good question. It was a good question. It was a legit question.
It was a good question. That's why I like Danny Austin. He doesn't mind stirring up the pot a little bit. All right, listen. Let's refresh these frosty beverages. And while we do, let's hear it from Ortega, the guy that will admit. I think we're all kind of, I don't want to say hoping he wins, but we'd be happy if he wins because he seems like a real, true up and coming star. But he's going up against an absolute beast of Frankie Yeager. Here's T City.
I saw you a month ago, and we asked you, what are you going to do? And you said, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to wait, I'm going to see what happens. Do you feel like you played this thing exactly right?
I feel like the cards were dealt in a good way. You know, I feel like if I would have took the other fight with Emmett or Stevens, you know, all these guys challenging me, I would not be in this predicament, you know. And now I actually like the predicament that I'm in, and I like my chances now as in terms of getting the belt for sure, as a secure title shot, you know. I talked to Dana White, I talked to everyone. They said, if you can be the fighter who gives Frankie a loss, you deserve that belt. And are you willing to take it on 3 weeks? let's do it. I said, I'm up for a challenge.
That's the thing, is that I guess the bad side is you didn't get the full camp. You got to do it on 3 weeks. Give me an idea. I mean, did you weigh that out? Was it tough? I mean, are you a guy that stays in shape so it's no big deal, or did you have to think, man, this is going to be tough? How did that go down?
I'm a guy who always stays in shape, always stays ready, and the way I looked at it was, in the perfect world, I would love, obviously, a full training camp. Everyone loves a full training camp. I would love to get my body acclimated to torture, as I call it, right? 2 months of torture of training. But surprisingly, there's a quote I read because I was feeling pretty sore right off the bat. Like the first week of training, I couldn't even walk, and I go, wait, what's going on? And it said, you don't know how strong you are until being strong is the only option you have, or the only choice you have. And that really made me start my next week, and I started strong, and then the third week I finished strong, and I told myself, you know what, I'm proud of the hard work and the amount of work that I put in these 3 weeks for this fight, because there's times in there that I didn't want to wake up and actually leave, and I'm like, dude, why did you take this on short notice? Why are you killing your body at a fast pace? You should rest more, you should do this. But the way I am as a person is I don't want any ghost. I really want to go in the fight, even on 1 week, 2 weeks, just saying, you know what, dude, you did everything you could do. That's it. Everything is done. There's no, I should have did this, I could have did that. Oh, why did you take the fight on 3 weeks? No, I took the fight on 3 weeks notice, knowing what time it is, knowing who I'm facing, and just knowing exactly what could happen, and it's high risk, high reward, but at the same time is, dream big, fail big, and this is the ultimate dream big, fail big. Get to fight a legend, this is, just to see my face on that poster at T-Bone Arena, I'm already on cloud 9 right now.
I was going to say, I mean, everything seems to be moving so fast. I mean, yes, you had a main event before, but, we were in a little town, in a little arena. There wasn't all this going on, right?
I was like, wait, I was main event last time. What's going on? This is a lot more, and it's just co-main event.
So what's it like for, are you enjoying the process? Is it a little, do you feel a little, is it intrusive? Is it difficult with all the added responsibilities? What's the outside of the cage stuff like for you right now?
Right now, I didn't realize how much media there is, as in terms of Fresno, I said, I'm the main event. There should be more media over here, but like you said, it was a small town, and there was not much. It was like free week. Like you seen, I had time to just mess around and play dominoes and do all kinds of stuff, versus now it's like, hey Brian, we're waking you up at 8 o'clock and we're gonna do this, and then from 8 to this, and then from 9 to this, and then from here to here, and then finally you're like, wait, okay, when do I chill? When do I relax? And that's the hard part right now, just all the media, and I get it, as a fighter, you want to help the sport out and you want to promote the fight, and I understand the responsibilities, so this is for sure something new in my career, as in terms of all the media, but I feel like I'm handling it well, and once I handle this type of situation, next time I handle a situation, I know how to better handle it, because I've already been through it.
You mentioned fighting a legend in Frankie. I think it's interesting, right? You're taking on short notice, but I got to think you've watched a bunch of Frankie fights over time, right? So, is this a fight that you had kind of already started breaking down, kind of already started thinking, boy, if I ever get in there with him, this is how I would approach it?
Yeah, I saw his fight against Yair Rodriguez, and I said, you know what? If I was in that position that he put Yair, I always want to show the fight fans what I'm capable of doing, especially with my jiu-jitsu, and he's a great grappler, he's a great wrestler, and he's a top game guy, and I'm a great jiu-jitsu, and I'm a great bottom game guy, and history has shown those are the best fights to make, when you have a top wrestler against a top jiu-jitsu guy who know what they're doing and who are deadly on top and on bottom, and that's what I'm excited about. These kind of matchups get me excited, because these are the type of fights that even in training I always prepare for. I always have big guys trying to hold me down and punch my face in, and I like it. A lot of fighters don't like it. I love being comfortable in uncomfortable situations, and I feel that's where I happily took this fight, because I honestly felt like no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay when I face this legend, and I actually want to know what I can do and if I can finish this guy.
Knowing what's at stake here, your undefeated record, a title shot on the line, Frankie Edgar, what is the overwhelming feeling right now? Is it nerves? Is it excitement? Is it questions? What is the overwhelming emotion for you right now?
Well, I feel like there's not too many overwhelming emotions or feelings, but I feel like in order for me to fight someone like Frankie, I would have to bring something to the table. And the undefeated record is what I brought to the table for him to say, you know what, why would he take that fight with me, right? So the undefeated record, finishing every single opponent in the UFC, all that show, and the names that I finished. So I feel like that is like my negotiation tool, right, to fight a legend like him. Because I feel like if someone else would try to fight him, he'd probably be like, nah, wait, like, I'm just going to wait for Max Holloway. But because he sees that I'm a worthy opponent, that's what it is. And for me, that's all I ever wanted. I wanted to build up enough credit to be able to fight guys like him, you know, to be able to have these opportunities and to be able to show the world who I am and what I'm made of.
I think people are excited for the fight. We know what you can do. When you play this thing out in your head, how do you see yourself getting your hand raised on Saturday? Do you go through trouble to get there? How does it go?
It's definitely going to be trouble to get there. This guy has never been finished in his entire career. And if anyone knows me as a fight fan, or, you know, I love to finish, you know. I don't go in there to score points. I go in there to finish my opponents, and this is going to be a great test for me, you know. This is the ultimate test. Someone who has never been finished in the UFC, an ex-champion, or, you know, former champion, and a legend in the sport, has the most octagon time in UFC history. Like, when I start reading these things, I go, wait, you signed up for a lot, bro. Like, let's get, you know, and it gets me more excited versus more nervous, you know. It gets me more like, will you be the guy who pulls it off, you know? And if so, how? And I honestly just see whoever makes a mistake, that's it, you know. That's honestly, with this fight, it's so neck to neck that it's anyone who makes a mistake, it's gonna pay for it.
Welcome back to the Mid-Road Show. That was T-City, Ryan Ortega. God damn, I love that co-main event. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You can just tell how beautiful his eyes are with that audio.
You can just hear them.
Just get lost in those eyes.
Clear blue eyes. With this.
What is happening right now?
What is going on? Can we start over? No. All right, Jose Young's joining us. By the way, for this Ballast Point Even Keel Mango.
I don't normally like fruit beer, and I don't normally like IPAs, but
it's tasty, right?
Bad,
yeah,
right?
it's not bad.
Like everything that they've made. I mean, and I'm not just trying to, you know, toot their horn because they give us delicious beers, but
I mean,
man, it's like
but I will
smooth. It's like super smooth. Like, you know,
good.
I've had a lot of IPAs and a lot of beers where it's just like the aftertaste really gets to you, and you're just like, it's almost oppressive until you have a few, and then everything's sort of numb anyways. But like, these are just delicious. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a dangerous
really,
beer.
really good. Yeah, this one.
It's a dangerous
This
beer.
is like I would love this one, like sitting out by the pool. Like,
I mean, listen. Normally, when I'm drinking an IPA, I feel like I'm drinking a bag of weed. Is basically what I feel.
I describe it as tree bark.
There,
like you just rip
you
some tree bark off and just like chew it. Yeah.
There you go. All right, well, let's talk about it. Listen, perfect time to bring you on, Jose. You're an Arizona guy, so let's talk about Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Andre Sukumtat. All right, this is interesting, right? I love this fight being the third fight on the pay-per-view. Now, again, I'm not expecting this pay-per-view to do huge sales, right?
Right.
But I do think we're all pretty excited, and I think that Sean O'Malley and Andre Sukumtat is a show stealer type of a type of fight, and I'm incredibly excited about it. I will say this, and the numbers I'm giving aren't like private numbers, but if you go to like our YouTube, you know, the interviews that we did on
Sean's
Wednesday,
probably doing great numbers.
Sean was number one.
Yeah, he's way up there for us.
The face-offs today, he was the story
he's
of the face-offs, right?
He's our biggest.
Even though it was, I mean, I guess you could say it was Andre that was the story of the face-off, right? Because Andre was the one that slapped Sean Shelby. But still, right, like it was that fight. I mean, this fight is big. I feel like anytime you're big, it's because people both love you and hate you.
Yeah.
And he seems to be doing that. Now, I will say this. As much as I love his fighting style, I don't love his interview style yet.
Not at all.
I think he's still growing into his interview style. I mean, it's weird because he's such a showman, and I feel like his interviews don't exactly like exude his personality yet. But give me the Arizona point of view, man. What do you think about Sean O'Malley, and what do you think about the build? Because this is interesting, right? Like, we're in a time when all people do is criticize the UFC for not building stars, not helping. Here's a guy they take from Dana White's Contender Series to the Ultimate Fighter finale to a pay-per-view in 3 fights. they're featuring him on the prime time, and they're not featuring well, they feature Sukumtat a little bit, but I mean the bottom line is that's who they're featuring. So I don't know. What do you think about this kid? Is he the real deal? Is he deserving of this hype? Is this too much? What do you think?
I think it really reminds me of I think Cynthia Calvillo made her first 3 fights on a pay-per-view, and her first one she was filling in, so I don't really count that, but then it was pay-per-view, and then pay-per-view, and then she was on the co-main event, her second fight. So you saw the UFC push her hard, and Sugar Sean fighting Andre. Like, Andre is 1-2. I think he should be 3-0.
Yes.
It's not an easy fight.
1-2 is not indicative of skill. If you go back and watch those fights, man, they were hard-fought fights.
Very narrow. And then his third win was like he like stole Luke Sanders' soul with that knockout. So he could be 3-0, and I do agree with you, Sugar Sean. Like, I interviewed him today, and it was like 2-word answers. And I'm like, you have like. If you haven't seen what he was wearing today, it was like it was the most outrageous outfit. It was like red sunglasses, like red shoes with no socks, like a blue button up with like bedazzles on it. And I was like, yo, Sugar Sean, like, you got this curly afro, you look like super fly right now. Like, what is this? He goes, I just like to dress this way. I'm like, that's it.
That's it.
I was like,
I'm putting it on the tee for you.
Right.
Bro.
I'm like, this, like, you see, this is a softball. It just like, and he's just like not taking it. I was like, all right, whatever. And then he's like, I just want to let my fighting style do it. I'm like, well, you have by far one of the most exciting fighting styles I've seen. And I mean, he did that impromptu workout. Like, he wasn't scheduled to be at the open workouts, and then he showed up and he was just hitting pads and doing spinning roundhouse kicks, like not breaking a sweat. So in Arizona, I kind of heard of him for a little bit, and then he when he got onto the Contender Series, I didn't watch much of it because of the West Coast time difference and stuff. Right. I tuned in to see him just because I had been hearing about him so much. And then he had that knockout, and then he was on The Ultimate Fighter, and I was like, as soon as he won The Ultimate Fighter, I was like, this is going to be their guy. I know it's going to be their guy.
He's a skilled cat, man. He really can. You know, it's funny. I should say real quick, talking about the open workouts. First of all, you mentioned the spinning kicks. I mean, let's tease it now, dude. Like, you picked out that one little clip of Sean O'Malley grabbing the leg and then throwing the spinning kick off that. If he pulls that off in a fight where he basically, if you look at your footage, and the footage is on YouTube, if you look at the open workout footage, the way he set it up was he kind of went in for a single
leg
and pulled a single, but instead of like trying to turn the pipe, he
stepped back and then and
threw a spinning kick.
Stepped back, and held it almost like if you would catch a kick and you were just extending the leg and held it by the ankle. But he did it in such a fluid movement, and it was probably in the span of like maybe a second, where he went for the single leg, stood up, took a step back, slid his arm back to the ankle, and then did a spinning kick into the
and
what would be the head.
He was like, can you imagine if he catches a kick? Because you do get in those moments where you catch a kick and you hold the leg for a second, and you're like, what's my next move? If he throws a spinning kick off of the holding the leg off of a kick, that'll be sick. But
gnarly.
The other thing I want to mention was, real quick, the Brian Ortega at the open workouts. You mentioned his little brother came in there to kind of play around with him. His little brother kind of caught him with a knee.
Like, I know. I was like,
caught him with a knee to the head.
I was sitting next to one of the UFC photographers, and like we're like taking pictures and filming it, and then he gets like taken. He goes, "Oh my god!" Like, he says it audibly. Like, he's a UFC employee and he's watching the co-main event guy take a knee in open workouts from a guy not wearing pads.
Can you imagine?
And he's just like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, I saw it, but then like seeing this UFC employee stressed out, like, stressed me out.
Can you imagine if a little brother's knee, like,
imagine explaining that.
The fight?
Like, imagine explaining that.
Oh my god!
Did you see? I think you were opposite of me.
Yeah, I was right, directly opposite.
But it's funny because before we knew that Sugar Sean was going to crash the open workouts, we saw him up on the balcony, like, wow, because somebody else was working out, and we're like, what is Sean doing up there? Because he was just started like. He was like hitting the air and like stretching down and stretching, and I was like, is he in a robe? Because it looked like he had already changed or something. And at that point, we didn't know he was going to come down the open workouts. We were just like, man, dude just wants to be here so much. He's just going to work out in the balcony of the sports book. So I thought it was kind of funny. I didn't know if you guys saw him up there.
I didn't see it.
Because he was opposite of me, but he would have been behind where you guys were.
After the weigh-ins, I was like, I didn't see, like, he just appeared, and everyone on the opposite side was like,
everybody
dude,
had practically left. I mean, like, at that point, because I think there was like 4 of us that filmed. Like, I had already broke down my gear, and then they're like, oh, hey, we have an extra surprise. I was like, are you serious?
Yeah, he's like, we're going to take you to the sugar show. And I was like, what is that? I was like, what is happening? And then he comes out, and some people stayed around to get photos, and he was like, they asked him, like, why'd you want to do this? He's like, oh, I want to promote my brand, or I want to promote myself.
But
I was
you
like,
know what?
Sure.
You got to respect that, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because, he
gets
again,
it.
I think it's such an interesting intersection right now, right? Because we're talking about this slow time in the UFC and this slow time for MMA and then yet here's this guy who is really not that great on the mic. Like we assume that you have to be great on the mic. I've interviewed him a handful of times, and I like the kid. I like the kid a lot, man. He's not that great on the mic.
Not yet.
But he looks good, and he fights good.
Exactly. Like if you see him on the street, he looks like a cartoon character.
Right?
Like he has a big curly afro. He's got really colorful tattoos, and like what I remember most is when when he won the Ultimate Fighter, I was like, this guy's gonna be a big deal. But even before he won the Ultimate Fighter, remember when Dana White was in that video where he was talking about bad tattoos?
Right.
Every fighter he talked about was like Conor McGregor, like Cub Swanson, and Sugar Sean was there. And I was like, this guy doesn't even have a UFC fight, and he's already on a Dana White tattoo video.
True, right?
And like he has these really colorful tattoos, and then like you guys, the thing that you remember from the open workout was this crazy spinning kick that he did.
Yep.
Like as soon as he learns how to talk on the mic, and if he keeps winning, he's going to be a big deal.
I think he's a real deal. Now, listen, I don't want to take away from Andre Sukumtat. I think as you said,
I
man,
want
Sukumtat
to add
a
is like
beast.
you're saying like I'm an Arizona guy, Sugar Sean's an Arizona guy. Andre Sukumtov is from Rhode Island, and I'm born and raised in Rhode Island.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so I went up to him and I was like, I'm from Rhode Island. You're from Woonsocket, Rhode Island. He goes, I'm from Providence, and I moved to Woonsocket. I was like, I think you're the only person that's ever purposely moved to Woonsocket. Like, why do you live there?
Or even heard of it.
Exactly. It's like the only thing it has is like CVS is there, and it is the most blue collar town in the world. He goes, I love it. He's like
CVS.
He's like
touting a CVS.
Yeah. He's like, I have the key to. They gave me the key to the city of Woonsocket. And in my mind, I'm like,
it opens
great.
2 buildings.
Great. And he was like so hyped. He's like, my goal is to bring the UFC to Rhode Island. I'm like, honestly, I'd love it, but in my mind, I'm like, it's gonna be rough. But it's like, so Rhode Island versus Arizona, real weird situation.
Just a good fight, though. I love the fight, man. I think the stakes are big, as you said. Sukumtat doesn't have really the respect probably that he deserves because he's been through some tough fights. But I do think I love this fight. I really do love.
Sugar Sean asked. One of the things I took away is like, did you know anything about Andre Sukumtov, or is this one of those like, you're a prospect, I'll fight anyway? He goes, no, I asked for him. I go, really? He goes, I saw his last fight. I thought he was super flat-footed. I thought he was very orthodox, and I think he gives me a chance to finish him in spectacular fashion. I was like, so you're picking your opponent based off how you think you can finish him? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, like, all power to you. If you could pull off this crazy spinning kick that you did in open workouts, like, that's marketing genius right there. Pick your opponents based off how you finish them.
That is crazy. All right, heavyweight, Stefan Struve versus Andre Arlovski. I want to ask you guys about this, how you felt about this, because when it was first announced, like, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those weird. I mean, it's not obviously immediately relevant in the rankings, but like Andre Arlovski, I mean, dude, he's a legend. I mean, the guy's been in the UFC since the UFC 20s. I mean, that's insane, right? I mean, obviously he left and came back and all that. But I mean, the guy is part of MMA history, right? Stefan Struve, a unique character, 7 feet tall, has had some amazing performances, has had some setbacks, but a good dude, still pretty young. I'll never forget, him coming to the UFC and saying his goal was to have 50 UFC fights, and that's crazy. But, I mean, it is possible nowadays with as many events as they have and that sort of thing. Struve coming off a loss. Arlovski had that losing streak, but now he won. It was crazy. Cool coffee. I mean, seeing Arlovski with the gray in his beard, and he's like,
you said that to him as I'm thinking, like, dude, I got a beard full of gray.
Well, you're not a former UFC heavyweight champion.
He took it like a champ. He took it like a champ, and he was just like, he's like, yeah, I got it, but I still feel young.
Yeah. It was nice that he was like, you can actually call me old now. He's like, I have gray in my beard. So I don't know. At first, when they first announced this fight, I was like, But now I'm actually kind of intrigued by it. Now that we're here, I'm kind of intrigued by it.
Yeah, and I mean, Andre Arlovski, I was talking with Danny Austin before. I think Vitor Belfort is the only one that debuted before Andre Arlovski that's still on the roster. I think Vitor was UFC 14 and Andre was like 20 or 21.
Right.
And for guys who watched like back then, like he was a champion. Like him and Tim Sylvia was like the original heavyweight rivalry.
Right.
So I'm always going to watch Andre Arlovski fight. He always kind of has a soft spot in my heart. And then Stefan Struve has a knockout win over the current baddest man on the planet. I mean, is this a title eliminator? No, but it intrigues me for sure.
I agree. Cold Coffee, what do you think, man? I mean, Arlovski older at this point, to say the least, but I don't know, man. For whatever reason, still gives us some respect. Still gives us, I don't know. I still get excited seeing Andre Arlovski.
I do too. I mean, just like you said. I mean, like he's definitely not a guy that you would call a dinosaur of the sport, but he is a guy that's been around. And he's been doing it as long as anybody. And I mean, I remember the first time I ever saw Andre and the mouth guard that he had. I used to think was just the most intimidating, awesome, like fang mouth guard that you see like Bermuda's biting or whatever nowadays. But no, I mean. I think he's an elder statesman of the sport. He's a guy that I love seeing around. Like, and this is one of the cats that, we're getting to a point where we are seeing. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit more about it in a second, but like Pyle's finishing. And Pyle's a guy that's been around forever. Arlovski, he's going to be another one that soon we're going to be having the same discussion.
The last of Mohicans, right? Like,
yeah, I mean we're going to be having that discussion.
Man,
and it's
that
like,
old generation.
We need to embrace these fights as much as it might seem where somebody might be like, oh, this fight's not great or whatever, but just to give him respect for the fact of what this guy has given to the sport. And both of these guys are going to go out there, and one of them's probably going to end up sleeping on the canvas.
It's going to be
and
a
they're
crazy
still
European
willing
fight.
to do it, And
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's awesome about it. But I thought his interview with us was great. I mean, I know he was on the radio show, and I'm glad we decided to go ahead and still get him. And I thought we got an incredible interview with him. And I'm super excited for this fight. I'm excited to see Struve back and I actually picked Struve on this one. After watching Arlovski and seeing this, and I feel like I'm in the minority of staff picks, but I don't know. Maybe I have just an affinity with Struve. I believe that he had a lot of promise. There was a point where I swore I thought he was going to be a champ, and there's part of me that doesn't want to give up on that, or maybe still buys into that a little bit. And I think that maybe right now, even though Arlovski can demolish every one of us, I feel like he's not the same Arlovski. He's slightly diminished Arlovski. Sure. So part of me leaned to the fact that I think Struve, with his size difference and just being younger and maybe coming in and being hungry for a fight because he's been away for a while, that's why it was enough for me to lean towards him in this. But I still am super excited to see Andre fight, and I always will. And it sucks, but I know that it could be this year. I mean, it could be maybe next year. If it's not this year, that we're going to be talking about that this is his retirement fight.
It's crazy.
It's
funny because we've been covering Andre for so long that I remember when Andre was like the biggest asshole in the world because he was the biggest superstar in the world,
and he could
hated everybody, and he is intimidating. I mean, he is intimidating.
Super intimidating.
You kind of forget how. I mean, he's a big dude. Like I know he's only like 6'4", Like, I mean, Struve is like 7 feet tall. Like, he's towering, right?
Yeah, but he's not as thick.
Yeah.
He's long and, like, wiry.
There's something about Arlovski that even to this day is still intimidating.
It doesn't help that, like, the last few guys he's fought has been, like, Ngannou, over.
Oh, no, he's
Struve.
fought beasts. But
yeah.
Arlovski, like, back in his, like, run as UFC champion was
physical
the biggest
freak.
Asshole.
Yeah.
Like, nobody liked But now he's just like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? He's like the nicest guy.
It's like Danny was saying, like, when Danny was talking to him, like, he's been around since like 2000, and he's like he's like three different ownership groups.
That's true.
And he's like,
UFC 28?
if you miss the early days of the UFC, like you don't know what you're talking about.
Back when they were still naming the events.
That's
Look at that.
Wow. UFC 28, high stakes.
I'm actually giving this podcast away to Danny. The guy has more knowledge than I do. Facts.
He's okay.
I'm done.
He still has
and his blue eyes.
His blue eyes. I get lost in his.
You get lost in his eyes.
All right, real quickly, because see, that's why I love this card. There's so many stories to talk about on this card. Real quick, Kat Zingano, Ketlen Vieira. Kat Zingano. Obviously, man, you could spend hours talking about what she's been through, where she has to get back here. Ketlen Vieira, meanwhile, the phenom from Brazil coming up. Let's just talk about real quick about the face-off they had today. How about the aggression of Kat Zingano? And then she storms out, she gets in her face, and then there's that subtle little move of the fist. If you guys want to watch this, if you're listening right now and you haven't seen the face-off, it's intense. But Sean Shelby, obviously, he's been in the middle of a million face-offs.
Right.
He knows, like, Kat's going to – so he kind of puts his hand – he makes sure there's not contact, but then Kat reaches out her arm and then shoves her hand a little bit further just to get that fist.
And then they don't separate.
Intense, right?
And then they like don't. There's like still like Sean. You can kind of see wants them to separate.
Right.
And they're still looking at each other. Like no one wants to be the first person to break eye contact.
Right.
And Kat, I remember her first fight when she beat Misha. I was at that fight, and then when she stared down with Ronda, just the biggest cheesiest grin on her face.
Yeah.
And it's like you could see, like, not like. You could see the progression of her approach to fighting from cheesing and smiling and laughing when she's staring down with Ronda to just be like cold-blooded.
I get it, man. Like all the question marks, like all the negative signs are around Kat, but dude, her intensity right now, her focus. I picked Kat in the picks, and
so did
I. And I know that's hard based on her recent results and everything, but dude, I just feel like she's in a spot right now.
And I mean, people forget that when she like broke Misha's face in that fight. Like Misha can complain all she wants about the early stoppage, but she was like toasted in that fight. And Kat lost the first 2 rounds and came back, broke her face, and then lost out on the chance to fight Coach opposite Rousey and then fight Rousey. On the card that Anderson broke his leg, so Kat missed out on that record-breaking fight, and then came back and beat Amanda, lost the first round to Amanda, and then had that snap suplex takedown that I'll never forget and beat Amanda. And like that was the first time I watched Kat where she was not smiling at weigh-ins because she did the whole like I'm not going to shake your hand approach to Amanda, and then just ran through her.
She needs to be angry. She
absolutely needs to be angry.
And
then it kind of worked against her when she fought Ronda. She came flying out of the gate.
Yeah.
But that was her first fight. Like her title fight that she lost. Like she said she was overzealous, but Kat needs to be angry.
All right, let's ask you, Jose, about Mackenzie Dern on the prelims.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, a lot of expectations here, right? This is the bad spot. I mean, she's definitely talented. There's no question about it. I do feel like she's almost in this like no-win situation. Like I kind of joked with her today. I feel like if you don't come in and flying triangle your opponent in 12 seconds, like it's like you failed.
It could happen.
It could.
Yeah,
happen.
I mean,
but what do you think? I guess. I mean, do you feel like she is the real deal? She's deserving of this hype. And B, do you feel like this is a tough spot for her to be in? Because I feel like there's way more attention than most people. But I guess, again, like I was talking with Danny Austin earlier, Israel Adesanya had unrealistic expectations for his debut, and he delivered in grand fashion. Give me your take.
I think I do agree 100% with you that it's going to be rough for her. I mean, I've been to see most of her local. She's another Arizona fighter, so I've seen her fight in Arizona a bunch, and I've seen her in the gym, and she is just like, when I say when Daniel Cormier is like there are levels to this, like think of like 5 levels ahead of like everyone else in terms of jiu-jitsu is Mackenzie Dern, and she's pulled off some of the craziest submissions I've seen, not just in the gym but like in competition. And if she doesn't do that, maybe we give her a pass, octagon jitters, whatever, but like 2 lackluster decisions, because I know people who don't really watch MMA, but they know who Mackenzie Dern is. And I didn't think, like, I thought Mackenzie Dern was like, we like jiu-jitsu, we like MMA, we know Mackenzie Dern, but then someone will text me and be like, hey, who's this Mackenzie Dern that I keep seeing on, like, SB Nation or any other site? I'm just like, she's like the next Ronda from everything the UFC wants to tell you, and she's 4-0, 5-0, maybe even less, and making weight's always been kind of a big deal for her. So if she makes weight and she pulls off like Ken said, a crazy flying armbar, like just put a rocket in her, shoot her to the moon.
That's right. She's got the definite star potential. All right. Well, here's what we did. Mackenzie Dern, we definitely talked to her. You can find that on YouTube. You can find it on MMAjunkie as well. But we also thought, you know what? Let's give Ashley Yoder a little shine. Let's let her opponent speak. That may or may not have been a directive of Cole Coffey himself, as he just happened to catch the way she looked out of the corner of his eye.
Maybe.
not just Cole Coffey.
I'm just saying.
Not just Cole Coffey.
So listen, we're going to re-up on some frosty beverages, and while we do that, here is Ashley Yoder, the woman who hopes to upset Mackenzie Dern in her much-anticipated UFC debut. All right. Well, Ashley, certainly you're familiar with the name Mackenzie Dern. That she's making her UFC debut, and you're the one that draws her on the opposite side. What did you think when they came to you with this matchup? Did they give you this opportunity?
Exactly. It's an opportunity. So you got to see it as that. And we all go into the octagon with no special gifts. They don't get, all right, here's some metal to put in your glove. So we all go in there as our own fighter, and I'm looking for the upset this fight. So I'm looking to be known after this fight.
Is that a key to you? I mean, like you said, she is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, obviously. But is that a key to realize, like, hey, at the end of the day, a fight's a fight, and I can't give her too much credit for her grappling ability?
Yeah, no, I always give credit when credit's due, and I think she is worthy of that. But, MMA is a different game, and everyone knows this. You don't have a gi on. No gi's different than gi. MMA is way different because you're getting punched in the face, you're getting elbowed, you're getting kneed, hopefully not bit, but everything else is pretty much allowed. And on that side of it, I've had my fair share of face punching and cuts and everything else, so I'm okay with being anywhere in the cage.
I feel like fighters always have something to prove. I mean, is it a situation where you go, listen, I know she's great on the ground, I need to avoid that at all costs? Or is there a part of you that goes, if I could go down there into her world and show everybody that I can hang there too? I mean, is that something where you maybe have a little ego play?
Oh, no, definitely looking just to be where I'm comfortable, and that's anywhere, like I said. So if standing up, ground, I'm comfortable anywhere. I'm not trying to go in and make it a grappling match. I'm here for fun fights, and that means face punching. So, and honestly, I don't mind getting bloody. So if you've seen any of my fights, I think that's the case. And I just like to have a good fight, so I'm excited about performing.
You do have the experience, at least in the UFC, the edge over her. Do you think that proves valuable at all? I mean, we hear about octagon jitters. I mean, even people that have performed at the highest level of other stages. Do you think the fact that you're going to be probably, imagine, more comfortable on fight night will play in your favor?
I've actually had a lot of more of my fights in Vegas than anywhere else. So that alone, plus being in the UFC for my third fight, gives me a little bit more comfort. I've been through the T-Mobile arena. I've been there. I know where the locker rooms. I can mentally visualize night. So of course I think that gives you some kind of advantage, and definitely gives me confidence. So I'm just excited to be here and be a part of it, even if I am the underdog. So I'm just here for the fans.
We said it, you're the underdog. She's getting a ton of attention, understandably so to some degree, I guess. But is there any part of you that's like, hey, this isn't fair?
No. They're gonna see after this fight, like, hey, hopefully I make a couple of people look stupid. So I'm excited for the upset, and why not want the underdog to come through on top, right? So
nice. It seems like you're planning on shocking the world. So when you see this thing play out, when you do visualize it, like you said, how does it go down?
I see it not going all 3 rounds. I see it hopefully getting the finish, whether it's ground and pound, surprising the world with some kind of submission. You never know. So anything can happen, and I've had finishes. 4 of my 5 wins have been from arm bars, so don't underestimate me.
All right, so Ashley Yoder, she is not intimidated. She is ready to pull off the upset. The young Mike Bohn is back in the house. Let's burn through this. The prelims. Beneil Dariush taking on Alexander Hernandez. We know Beneil Dariush was supposed to take on Bobby Green. We're so excited to see the quick turnaround there. Yeah. Beneil Dariush, always a big fan of that guy. I don't know, Mike, any thoughts on this? I mean, Alexander Hernandez, kind of the unknown, of course, stepping in here. Has some impressive statistics, as anybody does when they step into the UFC, but they got to prove it on the UFC level.
Yeah, that's a tough draw for a UFC debut, Beneil Dariush, man.
Beast.
God.
Beast.
I do not envy Alex Hernandez, but hey, you got to do what you got to do sometimes to get your foot in the door in the UFC. So props to him for taking the fight. Props to Dariush for taking a no-win fight.
I know. That's why, I think that's the point that I wanted to make out of this, is that, Hernandez, awesome, man. You're stepping up. But, of course, man, when you get the UFC call, you're stepping against anybody. Respect to Dariush for taking on a newcomer, man, because you know what? It's a no win. I mean, you hate to say no win because he'll get a paycheck,
Yep.
and the paycheck is a win.
Yep.
But
And
you ain't taking a step forward if you beat a newcomer.
Yeah, and this is the kind of fight too. I think this is almost perfect for Dariush because I feel like he's, he was surging at one point, and people were talking about him as a guy a couple wins away from maybe not a title shot, but being like right there. And then he kind of lost some steam and had some time off and all these kind of things. So maybe this is exactly what he needs right now. He needs a guy that he's a big favorite over. He can go out there, maybe get a really impressive highlight reel type of finish over. Maybe if this card lives up to expectations, I suspect he won't get a bonus. But if it's one of those things where it kind of doesn't turn out the way we think, maybe he slides in there and gets that extra 50K with like a super impressive win. So yeah, I think maybe for Dariush, if you play this one the right way and fight the right way, I think it can kind of be a showcase fight that maybe reminds people how good this guy really is.
John Dodson, Pedro Munoz bantamweight fight at supposed to take place in Brazil about a month ago. We know what happened. Pedro Munoz didn't make weight. We did talk to him earlier this week, so if you do want to look that up on MMAjunkie, I mean, he gave a pretty extended explanation.
Very extended. I thought it was a really good.
It was very thorough. It was very thorough.
Very thorough.
It maybe not have been the sound bite you were looking for, but if you're looking for a thorough explanation, and good for him. I mean, I do want fighters to feel like, hey, look, here's an opportunity to explain to you exactly what happened, and I thought it was cool on a number of levels. First of all, Munoz was saying, look, I'm not pissed at Dodson for not taking the fight. I get it. I was way over. I wasn't like a little over. I was way over. Not pissed at him for not taking the fight. Meanwhile, Dodson, I loved his explanation of saying, like, listen, man, I didn't take this fight because it wasn't a smart business decision. It was not the professional thing to do. So I don't know.
What was his quote? Savages are savages, but savages are, do business right. Or the most savage thing you can do is, be a good businessman or something like that.
It's a smart thing to do. It was so right. So I thought everybody involved made the right decision, including the UFC who booked it. I will say this. I will say this. Man, it's been so interesting the start of this year because. And Mike, you've even been involved in this. There does need to be some consistency with how this is handled. Like, fighters do not need to be negotiating with how they will be compensated after a situation like this happens. I totally get it. I mean, because we're looking at a situation like this, like Dodson Munoz, and if you go back and you look at the history originally, word out of Brazil is, nobody's getting anything, and then we find out, oh no, there was a miscommunication, and all that. And previously it was Vitor Belfort and Uriah Hall, and I get it. Like, if you're paying Vitor Belfort like $500,000 and his opponent doesn't make weight,
yeah,
I mean, it is hard to say, okay, Vitor, thanks for making the scales this morning. Here's your $500,000. I get it. It's hard.
Yeah.
But it's also hard if you're a guy like Dodson who isn't that level of athlete, or at least that level of compensation, I should say. To not know exactly what you're getting. So I do believe there needs to be some consistency, and I do believe, again, this goes back to the need for fighters to organize somehow. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's a union. I don't know if it's association. I will not pretend to know the answers. But what I do know is that contracts should stipulate very clearly what happens if your opponent doesn't make weight. So I think that is something we need to not forget about this matchup. We need to remember that in our heads. This is something that the fighters need to change. All that said, now that that's in the backseat, it's a damn good fight.
Yeah, I love this fight a lot. It's a great matchup. I mean, it gives Munoz a huge opportunity to get that signature win and kind of break through into the upper echelon of this weight class. And Dodson just needs kind of like, talking about Beneil Dariush there, he needs a kind of signature moment here to really break through and remind people how good he can be. Because he's had, when was the last time Dodson had that type of spectacular win over a
He's had those tough decision results, man. I feel like he's not getting the respect he deserves. I mean, he is dangerous. He's dangerous.
Yeah, and he's lost a couple close decisions. I mean, Marlon Moraes, and what was the other one that he had that was a couple fights back that was very close? Yeah, against Lineker. You can argue he's won both those fights.
The fight that he allowed his fighter to weigh in overweight.
Yep.
Exactly. So, yeah.
He learned his lesson. That was the one that changed him.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, just to touch on that very quickly, I mean, everyone wants to crap on the UFC for, not paying them, all this kind of stuff. The days of the UFC being a family-owned kind of business under the Fertittas and all that stuff, those are long gone. WME, or Endeavor, I guess is now, they are clearly all about the money and all about the pocketbook at this point, and they're going to do whatever they have to do to keep money.
That doesn't mean that they're shitty.
Yeah.
That just means they're a big business.
Exactly.
So all that means is if you're on the other side, get it in writing.
Yeah.
Get it in writing.
And that falls on the managers and the fighters. If you are a good manager, you should be thinking ahead of time and planning that out and putting that in the contract. And it falls even more on the fighters. Like TikTok, guys and girls, the TV deal is coming up very soon, and you're not going to get a single penny of that unless you figure your shit out very, very soon. And, God bless Leslie Smith and Cajun Johnson and all these people trying with Project Spearhead. But, I don't suspect that comes together before the TV deal.
No, it's going to be tough to get that done. I will say, by the way, gonna sit down, by the way, with Cajun Johnson in London. I've already talked to him. He said he's down with it. We're actually going to do it. We're not going to do it at the hotel. We're going to do it. Well, we might do it at the hotel, but we're not going to do it as part. We're not going to do it as part of the UFC's scheduled interviews. Usually, as you know, Mike, I work through the UFC, and I'm like, hey, will you set me up with these people? But I reached out to Cajun outside, and I was like, hey, this is not the way I normally work, but why don't, considering what I'm sure we'll want to talk about, why don't we do it outside of the realm of, not that the UFC would, shut it down, but I'm looking forward to doing that in London. We're going to have a nice full discussion on all those things.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'm very much looking forward to that interview, and I know you'll kind of cover it on all bases, so that should be great. And I think Cajun Johnson, Leslie Smith, very, very good people to kind of lead it, because they've been talking about this stuff for a very long time. They're clearly not intimidated to stand up for themselves and stand up for the rights of fighters. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, I mean, again, it falls on the fighters and the managers to make these type of things right, because the UFC is not going to do you any favors at this point. Like, do not expect much out of them. I mean, maybe sometimes stuff will come together. You hear some things like...
But I don't know. I mean, dude, listen. If I was running a business, I ain't just giving away money for free.
Exactly.
I think that's what frustrates me, is a lot of people are just like, you can't just automatically paint the UFC as the big bad... I mean... They're a business operator. Yeah. They're trying to make money.
I mean, like, the one argument you can make is that money they're going into the show before these guys miss weight. That money is allocated in their mind.
That's true.
It's there to be spent, whether it's a $500,000 purse or a $10,000 purse. They have already pre-planned by putting out this event that they're going to spend X amount of money. So in that sense, it's like, okay,
all right, but
still,
you've budgeted that with the expectations of the number of eyeballs that money that you're spending is going to bring. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, it's like if we said, hey, listen, we're budgeting to put $500,000 on a billboard in hopes that it'll bring eyeballs to this sport, right? But, you meant to buy the $500,000 on the billboard that's right here on the strip, and they ended up giving you one, up in North Las Vegas, up there. You're like, wait a minute. Well, bro, you already had that money allocated.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying. You're doing the show. You know what I mean? And listen, I'm not trying to say the UFC is perfect. I'm not trying to defend the UFC. But I feel like sometimes it's too easy to sit back and be like, let's take shots at the UFC. Let's tear down the UFC. And you got to understand, if you're on the other side and you're the one writing those checks and you're the one spending that money, what's your expectations? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I mean, we want to sit here. We interact with the fighters, far more than we do Dana White or any of these other executives. So you empathize with them a little more. You want to kind of, not necessarily to say as journalists, our job is to, be the representatives of the fighters or rally for their interests, but in a way, you want to see them treated right, especially in a sport that we know, the pay could be better. All these different things, like just in general, you feel like there's a lot of situations the fighters should and could be getting more, but again, that falls on them. And I think in 20 years or whenever, hopefully this thing is still around and we're still covering this, and it's developed to a point that there's a union and all this stuff, and we're going to probably sit back and be like, holy shit, in 2018, like, how were these fighters not getting this, not getting that? Like, crazy times, I hope.
Talk about crazy times. CB Dollaway versus Hector Lombard, a matchup that we never would have thought about, but a matchup that makes transition. Makes some sense, right? I mean, both guys, like, on these crossroads of their careers, right? I mean, CB Dollaway, we go back to the to the injury in the elevator and like can't even fight it again, versus Hector Lombard, who was once a world beater and now just seems like he can't get it done anymore. Yeah, I mean, I remember it because if I recall correctly, I mean, I believe this was the first fight that was even announced for UFC 222.
I think so.
Because I remember, because like if you looked under our event listing, it was like literally the only fight listed. So it looked like
the main event.
Yeah, the main event. A weird fight, but honestly, like one that makes a lot of sense for two guys at a crossroads.
Yeah, at this point, it's interesting because CB did that little walk in the park at light heavyweight there in his last fight, coming back down to middleweight for this one, and yeah, it's just an interesting fight. I mean, it's kind of a perfect prelim at this point, but it's just crazy how hard Hector Lombard has fallen. I mean, the first UFC event I ever covered is media. Was UFC first time I met you in person, UFC 149 in Calgary.
Oh, jeez.
He's he's coming in from Bellator. He's the co-main event against Tim Boach. He's going to be, the next big guy. He's going to fight Anderson Silva after a couple wins. He's all this, and just to think where he is now, 6 years later, 7 years later.
Was that card that was terrible?
Oh yeah, that was I remember Dana White walked out.
Not in Calgary.
Dana White walked out during the co-main event on that
Canada.
card because it was such a bad fight with him and Tim Boach, and just that whole thing was awful. And they're still going to make up to Calgary at some point. Shout out to Stanley Austin, but
totally,
yeah. And that falls also completely getting off track, but that falls totally on Calgary for them not going back there. They refuse to build a venue that can host a UFC event. They could potentially lose their hockey team because that, like, a Canadian team.
Because the Saddle Dome is just
it's so old, it's garbage. It's they refuse to update it. Sorry, bro. Saddle Dome is garbage. Part of the reason, for sure. For sure.
Quiet down, Canada. Quiet down. All right, real quick. Mike Pyle versus Zach Otto. Let's just say this. Mike Pyle walking away. It's Mike Pyle is a guy that if you're new to the sport, you might not understand who he was and what he meant, but a guy that's been around for a long time. A guy that accomplished a lot of things outside the UFC. A guy that was part of the original fabric of Extreme Couture. And it's funny, man. He had the reputation for the longest time, for if you want to go way back in the day, of being like this gym monster. Like literally anybody that would spar against him, that would train with them, would say like, I can't beat him. Like I he kills me every day in the gym. And for whatever reason, it just didn't translate to the cage. It didn't translate to the biggest opportunities of his life. But just an absolutely good dude. And Cole Coffey, I know you were happy that we got a chance to talk to him. And I should say, Ben Folks, I believe, hopefully, I think it should be out on Friday. Has a nice piece out on him. But kind of talking about the retirement fight. I know you're excited to talk to him today.
I was, and I gave him the same look that I gave Ashley Yoder when I saw him off to the side. I was like, bro, we have to go over there.
Another professional athlete who we need to speak to today for the exact same reason.
I mean, this is a guy that I remember from when I first started at the UFC in 2011. And this is at a point when he was doing his run like through 2012, and in 2013 he was 1-1 in 2013, but he was on a run. Yep. And I remember everything that we always asked him to do from a staff question, like, oh, we need a video about this. I remember shooting something with him and Dolce about something, and he was like, whatever you need. He was always the company man. He was always the guy that was just willing to do what was needed, and I loved everything about the fact that he was just like the blue collar dude that would just go out there and do. And I loved his fighting style. And unfortunately,
he's country.
And this is the guy that, I mean, while he has all these wins and he has these losses, the losses are KOs and all this other stuff, because he goes out and he just fights. He throws down. He's the guy. He's one of these guys that's always been willing to either go out and throw to get the knockout, or by golly, if you're going to get him and knock him out, so be it, But he's going to go out there and he's going to go out in his shield. And
if you don't know Mike, like if you're kind of a newer person in sport, you don't know about Mike Pyle. If you pull up his record on Fight Finder, SureDog, of course, the database of databases, his first professional fight is listed in 1999 against Quentin Rampage Jackson. Think about that.
That's crazy.
Mike Pyle and Quentin Rampage Jackson. And I've talked to him about this before. It was not his first professional fight, but he fought back in the days when there wasn't the Fight Finder, there weren't athletic commissions. But it's a hilarious story. So he talks about Rampage literally just like throwing him over the ropes. I mean, just literally picking him up, just throwing him over the ropes, and he just came back and fought anyway. He loses a unanimous decision. His next recorded pro fight. So think about this: his first two pro fights, that are recorded. Rampage Jackson, John Fitch. I mean, this dude is – I mean, Pyle has seen it all, done it all.
He's definitely fought the who's who.
The who's who. If you look through his listing, it's crazy. So if you're a recent fan, you might be like, why do I care about Mike Pyle? Dude is literally – I mean, guy has been there, seen everything, done everything. It's amazing. So we talked to him briefly at your insistence today because, like you said, I mean, first you insisted on Ashley Yoder, and then you were like – another equal pro
that happened to be sitting right next to Ashley.
No,
but he was sitting there, but he deserves it. I mean,
I wasn't originally going to talk to Mike Pyle because I know we have a nice piece on him coming from Ben Folks.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm not nearly the, skilled craftsman of words that I can't even speak at this point. But anyway, here, let's do this. Let's listen to Mike Pyle.
Well, Mike, obviously the news is out there. This is the final trip to the cage. What's the emotion like right now, thinking that it's all coming to an end?
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. It's been a great journey throughout my whole career and throughout this process of the camp. I got great people behind me and love and support from all the fans. It's awesome. I announced it early so that I could bring everybody along with me instead of making it a surprise after or whatever. I just wanted to bring everyone along with the journey, and I'm looking forward to it, man. I really am.
How do you reach the decision? I mean, how do you ultimately decide? Because, you've been doing this for almost all your life. I'm sure it's not easy to walk away from it. So what ultimately forced you to say, yeah, this is the right time?
The number 43. No, I'm kidding. It's just time. It's, at the end of the day, paychecks aren't worth it anymore at my age. I didn't build myself enough to have big fat paychecks, so it's just not worth the squeeze, and that's all on me. But I have things that are lined up going into the film business and acting. I'm not acting, sorry, stunt work, and so with that being said, I know where I'm going. Things are already in line. It's going to be a nice, easy transition, and I've had a hell of a ride in the sport. I used to be an NHB fighter, for Christ's sakes. You got. Young guys don't even know what the hell that acronym stands for. But it's just been great, man, the entire journey.
You've had a little more than a year off. Did you know the whole time that you're like, I'm going to do this one more time, or was it kind of back and forth?
Yeah, I knew if they would give me one more after being off of a year. So we sat down, Shelby and I, and he was like, yeah, we'll do that. But you're going to retire, right? I said, I swear to God, I'm going to retire, man. That's it. I retire. There's, like I say, goal at the end of the rainbow is not large enough for me to continue. I don't need my health. I got a 4-year-old little boy. I need to be dad. I need to be healthy. This is a rough sport. So let's retire.
Yeah. What's the perfect scenario? I mean, obviously, I think a win is there. But I mean, if you go out there and you put on a 3-round classic war, maybe you come up short on the cars, but the fans are going crazy. Is that still a win?
So be it. So be it. What I've done in the sport, I've already done. That's behind me. This fight is not going to determine what legacy, if any, that I leave behind is going to change. But I am going to fight. I always come to fight. Somebody's going to get bruised up, and probably going to be both of us.
What does it feel like right now? It's just different than any other fight week. I mean, knowing that there's nothing on the other side of it, what is this like?
It is liberating. It is the most relaxed I've been for a fight and approaching a fight. It's just that, like I say, the journey has been great, man. It really has been. It's been awesome. A lot of love from the fans, and over the years, the true hardcore fans know who I am and how long I've been in the game. And I'm getting a lot of respect and a lot of love, and it's really great, man. It really is.
Showing the depth of the card, Brian Caraway versus Cody Simon. We don't even have time to talk about it anymore. It's so late.
This is late. I still got to go back. I still got to do who you got.
You got stuff to do. Big fight, though. Brian Caraway versus Cody Simon. Listen, I'll just say this. Brian Caraway, a guy that I know gets disrespected all the time. I get it. But he is a legitimate fighter, and he's very skilled.
And it's good to see him back. It's been a long time.
It is.
It's been a long time.
Cody Simon is a guy that I'm very high on, though, man. I think that dude is very skilled.
Staman, huh? I was calling him Stamen. I don't know.
Bohn?
Maybe it is Staman. I always say
Cody,
Stamen.
Mike Bohn?
Stamen?
Is it Stamen?
I've always said Staman. Is it Stamen?
I don't know. I always think of like the flower stamen, but
Where's John Anik when you need him?
God damn it.
Give you that proper pronunciation.
Well, that just goes
Stamen?
to show we're falling
Stamen.
apart.
Stamen, stamen.
Jordan Johnson,
Cody.
Adam Milstead.
Let's talk about Cody.
Let's just now that Mike Bohn has ruined it for me.
Wah, wah. Thanks for listening. No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks for listening.
Come on, get the vote.
That's it. Worst clothes ever.
Wow, that was rough.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. That was my slate right there.
That was really good. That was really, really good. All right.
Just listen to 1.5 speed, and it's no problem.
Why are you talking shit? Fuck you, Mike. No.
I'm just gonna cut out all Canadians except for that nice one, Danny
Right.
Austin.
3, 2, 1.
The MMA Roadshow is sponsored by Health IQ,
Can we get that Irish girl from the elevator to come read it?
Please put that at the end.
an insurance company that helps health-conscious people like runners make it so. Number one.
Amazing. That's going at the end.
I haven't done the end for a while. Maybe
I know.
We'll stick
You
some
should throw that
shit
at
on
the
the
end.
All right.
All right, we're good?
Yep.
In 3, 2, and 1.